Good morning. My name is Ronin Vector, the Chrono Navigator here, visiting your timeline again. Just having fun, seeing what's good. I've been loving Final Fantasy XIV lately. I don't know what it is about it. I've been into it before, but it's got me even deeper this time. Yeah, I'm Ronin Vector, and we're gonna hang out some more again today. Right now, I'm just in the middle of some light housekeeping. Is that like a little robot fairy? That's a fairy with armor. That's kind of neat. In the middle of buying some gear for my fisherman here. Keep forgetting what level he is. I think he's 51. Pretty sure. Yeah. Nope, 52. See, good thing I checked. Although... yeah, I keep, being broke is a consistent problem, you know, as it is in real life for many of us. So, I'm a little late in upgrading my fisherman's gear. Just a little. Yes, right on the bottom. Fishermen don't get no respect. And I cannot remember for the life of me where exactly we left off with DC Death Metal. It seems like it's gearing up for the final battle, from what I remember. Batman's there. They rescued Superman. What else? The Flash. They hooked up with Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman doesn't know it's going to be their last battle. Superman slowly turning into Darkseid, or like, I don't know, a genetically altered version of him, I suppose. And then you got Batman, who's already dead, basically. But that's yet to be explained, I think. So I'll let the story do the heavy lifting.
She pops the top of the vial and drinks it, and then immediately coughs it back up, stating that it tastes like battery acid and pee. But as Ollie looks, he looks past Dinah, asking what are those. Just then, two giant Joker sharks jump out of the water, and the two begin to run while Ollie yells, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry!" Dinah turns back to blast them away, asking if he planned this date to have Joker mechs. And Ollie says that he may have forgotten about those, but this just makes him want to ask for a once-in-a-lifetime favor. For the life that they were supposed to live, will she stay behind with him in the morning? Dinah says that he knows the answer to that, and Ollie tells her, yeah, I'm a lousy first date, so let's tackle the other regret. Maybe a little rough, but I'm the wall, I'm the shield, and I do not run. I see the evil coming towards you, and I do not run. I stand between you and the darkness, and I do not run. That's it. That's the oath. Dinah pauses for a moment, stating that she thought he was about to get on one knee but Ollie asks, is that really bad? And Dinah tells him yes. Here, yes. When the man that she loves asks her to marry him, she'd want it to be in a place of hope, where all the options in the world are available and he'd still choose her. Ollie leans in, stating that he guesses it's a good thing that he wasn't thinking that then, huh? But at that moment, a voice calls out that they're sorry to interrupt, but they've been looking for them. The two quickly get into defensive stances, asking who this person is, and the young girl in a green hood says that she came from one of the worlds that got, well, you know. Ollie tells her that it's okay, what's her name, and the girl pulls down her hood, showing her face, stating that she goes by Black Arrow. But her real name is Laurel Lance Queen. Ollie and Dinah stare for a moment and ask, that's our... Laurel says that she doesn't want anything from them. Her parents are gone, her family is gone, she just wanted to meet them. Ollie tells her it's okay. Let's get a good look at you. You have your mother's eyes. Canary eyes. But that's when she laughs and tells him that on her Earth, their roles were different, like backwards. Ollie turns back, telling Dinah to come look. She's practically there, and Dinah says that she knows what she practically is. Hi. Laurel laughs, stating that she's going to fight with them. There's nothing they can do to stop her. Dinah tells her that she knows. She will be there under his wing, so stay close. And this is for all of them. Dinah recites the oath that Ollie gave her, and then hugs Laurel, stating thank you for reminding her what they're fighting for. The sun is coming up. They should all go get ready. And as the girls leave, Ollie reaches into his pocket, taking out a ring, and he quietly says, "Ah, well, regrets be damned." The next story is Whalefall. Along the coast while everyone gathers, Aquaman does not. He sits perched on his rock as the tides come in. The last place that he'd ever want to be on is dry land, especially on the eve of his death. Nor would he have asked that he be burdened
When
with
he
his
uses the
sons,
word kindly,
or the
it's
people that
most
they have
kindly
worked to
is
save from this
definitely
nightmare that has swallowed everything. In their eyes, he is the admiral of the
FYI.
Black Fleet, a traitor, a collaborator with the destroyers of all that hold dear. He cannot argue, he cannot blame them. He has been those things for far too long, for reasons that he can only hope that they will one day understand, and so he returns to the depths. He journeys down below into the darkness, now standing against the Black Fleet. He never thought about dying, now that's all he can think of, but he still does not regard it with fear or anger or sadness. For two worlds that share so much, they are still eternally divided over so many things. For them down here, there is no end to life. The currents roll infinitely, never ceasing, merely unseen deep below the surface. The old give up their place to the new. The predators feed. The prey can only run for so long, and each piece fulfills that part. Even the kings who rule over their domain will fall. They are only given so many days. Their efforts are finite. For those above, it is darkness, an enemy more monstrous than anything the Dark Knight is bringing back from his dark world. The deal he made with Baphomet was to protect the sea and all of those who dwell within, and to preserve the world above to keep their people as safe as he can ensure. The land dwellers fear death more than anything because they know how easily it can come for them all. Cast aside, buried in the earth in a purchased box, remembered only by those who survive until they succumb as well. Down here, most of their kingdom is in darkness, firmly out of reach of the sun, where nothing can grow or live. The water is on the edge of freezing, the pressure so great it cannot be measured. It can feel like a fist squeezing out any possibility of hope. The key isn't life, it's the need to flourish. Death is a much more powerful tool. Down here, a blue whale's body rests. She lived 80 years free in these oceans, following whatever urges she had, and did whatever she wanted to do. She had a family, gave birth to her own, watched them grow and build theirs. She loves the feel of the sun on her skin and the cold snap of the waters below, until the day that she stopped and the waters she called home carried her down to her next one. Her body became the seed of an eternally new life cycle. In death, she became a home. They've already fed on her flesh, and when those were done, more will come. Species of life, novel even to him, will make themselves known. Grow strong down here, broken down until she becomes a part of the soil, motes in the water. Her death will feed them all. Lights bright in the midst of the darkness for decades, but there is no loss in dying. It is a gift that they give to those who outlive them, to the worlds that they have always loved and the ones that they have come to love. The possibility that he will fall in this final fight, it is his own whale fall, a final gift to them, to both worlds. His reign will be passed down to his son, Andy, one day. All of the things that he's done in this fight were to ensure that his son has a world to inherit. Being a king, or what they call a hero, none of that matters a moment compared to being a father. His son and his mother filled the world with sunlight and the music that cut through it all, enough to keep him warm wherever his new home will be. Be kind to your mother, be kind to yourself. If I cannot be here to say those things to my son, I will still gladly fall, because I cannot think of a better possible world than one with him in it. The next story is the fight for love. The night has come, and Batman watches over everyone as they make their final preparations. Have they done enough? Or are they marked to die? In this futile mission, they only have one weapon that can pierce the heart of an enemy to win the day. And as Batman stands, he feels the touch on his shoulder. He hears a voice telling him that he looks tired and that they still have a few hours. He tells Batgirl that there's too much to do, too much to say. She's always been a leader. She sees solutions in different ways. He underestimated her in the past, and for that he is truly. But Batgirl stops him. We're already dead, aren't we? Batman says maybe, but we can still fight for the living. It's what we do. Someone might live on, someone we love, and I hope it'll be you. Gather the boys. We have time for one last Bat family meeting. Batgirl does just that, and as she gets Nightwing, he'd rather talk to her before them. There are things that he wants to get off his chest before, but she stops him and tells him that there's no need for that. She does not need to be reminded of how deeply he hurt her. Whatever he has to say, just keep it to himself. She doesn't need him throwing emotional bombs at her before the final fight. As everyone gathers, Batman says that he's going to skip to the end. The end of what's important here. Do we all have what we need to get the job done? Everyone looks at their supplies, and as they all pool their resources, Batman smiles, telling them, "We are ready, except for them." Batman places his hands on both Batgirl and Nightwing's shoulders, telling them that they need to skip to the part where it's
Still not
resolved,
enough.
because he needs them in the headspace now. Nightwing says, "Fine, Barbara, marry me."
skipping on
Batgirl
here.
stops him. "Wait, is that where you think this ends?" Batman waves his hand, telling them, "By the power vested in me by no one, you're married. Done. Now let's give the newlyweds some space." As they're left alone, Nightwing says, "So, we have tonight." And Batgirl tells him that they could be married tonight if he wants, but it doesn't stand if they live. Nightwing says, of course, if they live, it's void, annulled, until he can win her back. Batgirl asks, does he really think he can? And Nightwing tells her that he hopes to have a lifetime to try. From the moment they met, she was his other half. And we end with our final tale before the final fight, the Man of Tomorrow. As Superman thinks to himself, he knows that he can't be everywhere at once, or can he? Instead of spending his time with Lois and John, saying his farewells, he's working. Even now, with all that's gone on, 7 billion people are afraid that this is their last day on Earth. Half the human race has shut down in terror and despair, and the other half has surrendered to anarchy. Choosing them and his family seems impossible, but Superman doesn't believe in the impossible. His son is back from the 31st century, his time bubbles damaged, but pieces survived. By melding them with the last samples of a few rare Kryptonian elements, he should be able to improvise a makeshift chronal device capable of sending him back in time approximately 1 hour. The world is in absolute turmoil. His friends are concentrating and providing aid and keeping the peace, controlling the moment, but he is choosing a different path. His hour is up far too soon, and there's still so much left to be done. So much that can be done. If he risks activating the time shift device again to relive the same 60 minutes, there'd be 2 of them. 2 Supermen to set an example. Not enough. What if he made it 3? In fact, until the time shifter gives out, he can keep using it 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 Supermen to lead by example. For the first and last time in his life, for 1 precious hour, he can be everywhere that he is needed. This is a job for Superman, to pull people out of their despondence, to make them feel less alone, to give them confidence in the future. And if they're going to survive this night, they have to be able to picture the sunrise. They need to believe that tomorrow will exist. They need hope. He had thousands of hours to dread this moment, but they've helped him come up with the right words. He tells them where he's going, that he doesn't expect to return, that he loves them. He tells them goodbye. So let them make the most of it. The monsters of the Dark Earths begin to drop onto the battlefield, twisted in grotesque copies of the true Earths. They roar and bellow with an animalistic rage. Superman stands ready, his hair blowing in the wind as he orders his army of Earth's heroes, villains, and citizens. "God, I wish I still had my hair. Look at you, you fiend," Lex whispers jealously. The Dark Earth warriors ready, showing the heroes of Prime Earth their numbers. "Fine, let's show them ours," Batman snaps as the fighters of Prime Earth gather and prepare for the final battle. Harley nods, pointing out that the Dark Earths have way more fighters. "So what? We got powers, we got heart, and we're way hotter!" Jarro shouts from her shoulder, and Batman looks at Clark, pointing out that the one who laughs didn't have a lot of time to create these Earths. "I was thinking the same thing. This might be his whole army." Batman nods, throwing down his bag and using the Black Lantern ring to resurrect the dead body of the former Batman who laughs. "We're getting ready to attack," Swamp Thing shouts, and Harley lifts her hammer in anticipation. "You want to say it, kid?" she asks Jarro. "All right, everyone, freaking charge!" the tiny starfish shouts. "Language, kiddo, language," Batman shouts at his sidekick. The battle is joined, and in the darkness of the passage to the Forge of Worlds, the passage is supposed to hold the world's fear. But Diana believes that there is no room anymore. Lobo suddenly turns as the darkness shifts and it warps. Laughter begins to echo all around them. "Look out!" he screams as the hands begin to lash out, attacking him and his clones. It's him, the one who laughs, the fear of him taking form. He's the last terror in existence, Diana shouts, in the cosmic realm between the multiverse. The one who laughs and Perpetua continue their battle. The ancient god is becoming tired, and she tries to reason with the one who laughs, offering a deal. "Sure, How about I kill you and take the last of your power? Sound good? He cackles at her, and she whirls, blasting him with energy. The one who laughs screams in pain, lashing out with his own power. Their energy crackles as Perpetua tries to explain that if she dies, the hands of creation will come. When they see what you've done, it'll be the end of us all. She cries out, and the one who laughs smiles. Do you promise? On the remains of Earth, the heroes continue their battle. Batman swinging his scythe, rallying his family. Superman flying through the battle, Omega beams shooting out of his eyes. The Flash is running and fighting. And in the darkness, the Lobos are trying to protect Diana as the laughter continues. And he finally yells for her to run, to take the book and build the machine. But she continues her battle until finally one of the dark hands grasps the journal and pull it out of her hands. She screams as she plummets into the darkness, and as she finally falls free, she lands in the Forge of the Worlds. No, the journal! She whispers, but a voice rumbles to her from nearby. It would have made a little difference, Darkseid tells her. He tells her that the Forge dims by the minute, that the one who laughs creations have no soul or hope, and when the heroes of Earth die, the Forge will spark. No! There has to be a way to win! Diana shouts defiantly. Back in the space between the multiverse, Perpetua has lost. She cries out, telling the one who laughs that she only wanted mankind to be what it was meant to be, and he laughs at her, covering her in the stones of the multiverse before shattering her to pieces. Meanwhile, on Earth, the heroes cheer as the forces of the Dark Earth begin to retreat, and Clark stands strong, watching the darkness fall back. That's right! You better run! Booster Gold shouts out. This place may be a dump, but it's our dump! Clayface rumbles, but Batman isn't cheering, as Superman walks over to him. Something doesn't feel right, Batman tells his friend. Jarro agrees, and the others begin to feel something different as well. I feel it. The one who laughs is coming. Abigail, the avatar of the Rot, whispers, but a booming cackle fills the battlefield. I'm already here! The one who laughs gloats. In the time that it took you to cheer, I've realigned the Earth. I finished creating all my planets, all my armies. Here are my favorite soldiers, the ones that I've been saving for your last moments. So say hello to your darkest nightmares before they kill you! He cackles, and Batman stares at a new army of dark mirrors. Clark, I just want you to know our friendship. I know, brother. Superman tells him, and Clark turns to the rest of the army. Everyone, this is it. Gather your families. Fight alongside them. We go out together, Superman tells his allies. But meanwhile, in the Forge, Diana stares in disbelief. A disbelief that she has failed. That it all ends here. Darkseid rumbles and he gloats, but suddenly, Diana knows what to do. She reaches out with a lasso of truth, dipping it into the molten lava of creation. On Earth, the Bat family gathers around Bruce, both heroes and villains alike. The forces of Atlantis gather with Arthur Curry. The Lanterns, the allies and foes of Superman, Lois and Clark hold each other. Get a room! Someone shouts, and the people of Metropolis gather around the hero, apologizing for not joining them before. But unseen to them, the lasso of truth begins to connect everyone. They become one planet, one universe. Clark looks up. He can remember everything, the entire history of the multiverse laid out before them. I remember it all. Diana? He whispers, and suddenly the ground begins to quake and split open, and Diana emerges, a golden god! The one who laughs? You want to fight someone? I'm right here. She bellows at him. This brings us to the issue. Dark Knight's Death Metal, The Last 52. The final battles. Another tie-in. As the final fight draws closer, Diana is reminded of a time when she was younger. She attended the funeral of the fallen warrior named Ella, who had led her sisters into a great battle against Hercules. Many statues are put up in the Garden of Rose, and now Ella could be among them. The young Diana thought that maybe now Ella could be with her friends again, that maybe her death isn't anything bad, but a vision of Ella told her no. Death is not a blessing, it is horrible. and she must fight on. As Diana stares face to face with the Batman who laughs, God to God, she knows that she must fight. She went to the Forge of Worlds to find a way to stop the darkest night, and it is there that she realized something. They are one universe. They all matter, even him. Lex Luthor designed a machine that would force them to see the truth, but in reality, the truth was, it was in them all along. And it is time that she brought it out of the one who laughs. She wraps her lasso around him, and he smiles, asking if she just wanted the truth. All you had to do was ask. All the worlds created, it is your nightmares. And we are also so much more. Worlds where the damsel in distress killed her saviors, where the Boy Scout finally saw that humanity was beneath them. Even a world where the Ocean Mother turned her monster child into a weapon of war. Can't you see? These worlds are your truths. These are what you'd become if you drop the pretentiousness and let the real you shine. You and your friends are a great lie in the multiverse. The lie that there is a hope. And out on the battlefield, the heroes begin to fight with hope. Hope that there will be another tomorrow after this, that there will still be a world to call home. Even as the twisted version of Wally West takes aim to kill everyone, the original tries to stop him. Wally catches the bullets, realizing that this version of him is a version from a world where things aren't an accident, where he liked it. The Dark Wally tells him, no, I loved it. Barry was famous for dying, right? How about we make you famous too? But before the twisted Wally could pull the trigger again, there's a thump as an arrow is shot into the back of his head. The reanimated zombie Roy Harper tells him that it wasn't him. Not by a long shot. Wally that he knew was a good man and would never act like a tool. He was there with him. We were both hurting, and there's no hard feelings for what happened. But you do owe me. Now, how about we forget the guilt trips and take down some of these ugly boy wonders? I'm up 2-1. And so the heroes press on, even as all hope is seemingly lost. There are always friends beside you to help keep that spark alive. But as Diana watches, the Batman who laughs whispers in her ear that she knows war better than most. Hope on the battlefield can be a killer. So gaze upon the reality of this lost war and tell me what you see. As the different possibilities span across, the Batman who laughs asks, do you see it? What do your friends not want to admit? What is the truth of the battlefield? Diana tells him that war has no happy ending. The Batman who laughs tells her exactly, yet the others keep fighting. Heroes and villains working together for a common cause, and they all risk their lives for you. You are no god. Gods are cruel, like me. So you will submit. You will fall. You will bend the knee. And if you ask nicely, we can stop all of this fighting. All the pain can stop. And your final moments will be peaceful while the multiverse turns to nothing. I will gift you that blessing. Diana turns back to her childhood once more, seeing the statues of Ella's fallen. A second statue is being constructed of Ella beside them. But as the young Diana watched, her mother asked if Ella. Diana stops her. What did Ella mean? That death has no blessing. Hippolyta says that during the war with Hercules, Ella's faith wavered. She prayed the war would just end. The reality of war scarred her. She believed that she lived because she didn't push herself as hard as her sisters. And if she had given her all, without fear, her sisters might have lived as well. She would rather have given everything and died there, then her death would have had meaning. So the Batman who laughs asks again. She could stop it all right now. Just say the word. Diana pushes back, telling him no. She'd rather die. The Batman who laughs cackles in delight. Now that's the spirit! I knew you had it in you! Who better to be the harbinger of death to the multiverse than the avatar of truth? Your death cry will signal to your world that the end has finally come. Diana pushes forward, telling him that the only sound the multiverse is going to hear is the sound of her kicking his ass. Meanwhile, over with Superman and the side story, First and the Last Men. The ground trembles in the wake of the fighting Supermen, but Superman stops for just a moment. He watches as all of the Supermen surround him and says, "It doesn't have to be like this." Saint, an evil variation of Superman, tells him, yes it does. Superman looks past him, telling him, I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to the last son. Saint laughs. He has nothing to say. But Superman ignores the comment, flying up, trying to convince the last son that things don't have to be like this. Remember what your S stands for. Join us. Fight for what we've always stood for. The last son clenches his fist and punches Superman to the ground with a thundering krawoom. Superman rushes back fighting, telling him, "You've got to be in there somewhere. Some part of you still believes in the truth, in justice, in tomorrow." The last son punches again, launching Superman with a kragoom back into the ground without saying a word. Everyone watches as Saint tells him, "This is a lesson. The Superman laid low because his principles stand between him and victory." As blood drips from Superman's face, he stands up telling him, "I don't need to win. All I need is to believe that I still can. That's what hope means." Superman and the last son fixate their eyes on one another, and with all of their energy, they focus their heat vision, blasting away, creating a massive explosion. But as the last son still stands, Superman falls to the ground exhausted, and Saint tells him that hope is a refuge of the insignificant like you. It's embarrassing that we share the same name and blood. How about we just wait for hope to save the day? Surely it'll be here any. But at that moment, a voice tells him, "Sure as shooin'." Superman looks up to see Henshaw, Luthor, and Zod all coming to aid him. Henshaw states that Superman has been a pain in his side for a long time, but considering the situation, Saint grabs a pointed rock ready to slam it into Henshaw, shouting that only the mighty will prevail, but Superman punches him back, knocking him away, and then falls to his knees. He tells Supergirl that he doesn't have anything left, the anti-life. "Don't give up. We still need," and she tells him that they won't. Superman doesn't ever give up. And we are all Superman. Over with Batman and the Batman who laughs. Batman watches over the fight, and he knows that even he has his limits. He has to know them. You can't fight alongside gods and aliens without knowing how far your body can go. How many punches can you take? How many can you dish out? How long can you stay on your feet? How long can you stay awake? He himself has trained a lifetime to be able to push past that point, but his family is still alive and approaching their limits. They are beginning to fade. Their hits are landing softer. Their breathing is getting shallow, and they have made him so proud. This might be the end of everything. There's no choice but pushing past that limit and beyond human capabilities, beyond death. Batman stands up, and he tells everyone that they must get behind him. They need to advance together. At that moment, a blade pierces his back and comes out of his chest, and the Batman who laughs reanimated corpses ask, "Together? Together? Really?" The voice makes Batman's skin crawl, so much like his own, but so much colder. That isn't him. It's just a corpse of the original stitched together with the power of the Black Lantern ring. The real Batman who laughs is fighting on a much grander scale, but this rotting husk shouldn't be able to resist the control. The Batman who laughs cackles, asking, "Isn't it sad to know that all of these little kids are going to die?" Batman lunges back, asking, "Who do you think you're talking to?" And the Batman who laughs tells him, "I'm talking to myself. Isn't that the whole point? All I wanted was to just have a few last words at the end of everything. Here's the way I see it. Either the big cosmic version of me is going to win, or we're going to turn this whole multiverse into a weapon and kill whatever god or source is out there in the omniverse. So what is done here doesn't matter. Or he's going to lose, and all the pieces might get put back together. A big, bold new multiverse with a new dark multiverse trapped down there like it used to be." Batman asks, "What's the point?" And the Batman who laughs lashes out, telling him, "It means that I need to keep whoever survives this battle afraid. Afraid enough that it counts. So no, I'm not going to fall in line, and you're not going to take their hits. I'm going to slit as many throats as I can before this twisted world falls apart, in one way or another." Batman falls back. He laughs. The Batman who laughs asks him, "What's so funny?" And Batman tells him, "You're thinking about this whole thing backwards. I've realized that there's only one person that I need to keep afraid. The only person who knows exactly how dangerous you are. The only person who can picture each and every horrifying thing a Batman can do if he's stripped away of every bit of decency." The Batman who laughs tells him, "You." And Batman laughs, "That's right, me. I will make damn sure that there is no fighting, and I will do everything in my power to forget. All that will be left of you is an echo of an echo, until you crumble away like everything else in the dark multiverse. The Batman Who Laughs pauses for a moment and then bursts out laughing. It would seem that we need each other just as much as the other. It is funny. Batman Who Laughs falls in line and both corpse and man laugh at their own realization. Meanwhile, over with the Atom and Unstable Atoms. The Atom, Ryan, shows stands in disbelief. He shouldn't be here. But then again, none of this should be. But Mr. Terrific and Dr. Magnus had an idea that they would integrate Terrific's T-spheres into what's left of the Metal Men, adding flight capabilities. If the Metal Men could get inside of the Dark Earths, then there'd be a chance that they'd be able to shift the worlds out of phase, slowing down their nightmare creatures. It's a good idea. He might even say that it's a terrific idea, and he knows it won't work. He's fighting alongside gods and magic and hellish monsters. Science has no meaning here. What difference could the three of them possibly make? And then there's an explosion, and it should have killed them, but it didn't. Instead, Adam gets to see his own dark nightmare. Maybe it has to do with the barrier between worlds melting, or the type of inverted radiation pouring off onto him. Either way, the second that they see each other, they both understand. A world like theirs, at least to start. But he let his limitations and fears take over. He stopped questioning, he stopped exploring, he grew, but only physically. Now this alternate version of him goes by the name of Ra, which is also a periodic symbol for radium. A radioactive element, unstable atoms. Everything about him shouldn't be possible, which is the irony of ironies that the impossible could kill Adam. Adam shrinks to avoid Ra's blasts, but the blasts knock everyone else to the ground, and Terrific gets up weakly stating that he thinks science is pathetic. Ra tells him no, not science, their hope. But it doesn't matter anymore. Everything ends. Just then, Adam tells him that he's right and grows in size, stomping on Ra. He shouldn't be able to get that big, but then again, everything is still unknown, isn't it?
So
he'd forgotten what it was like to be in the edge of the unknown, how it felt to be so overwhelming and so unknowable. He felt so small, he forgot how exciting it is. Everything he knows about science tells him that there's no way out of this, but it turns out everything he knows about science is just a drop in the ocean now. He has no idea if the plan will work, but compared to his previous certainty that it wouldn't, well, that's an improvement. So come on, let's make some Metal Men. Meanwhile, over with Lois Lane and No More Superheroes. How did this get worse than anything she could have possibly imagined? Just seeing her. She tells Perry and Jimmy to run, but where can anyone run to now? A world where there are no superheroes is descending upon them, and leading them is her. An evil Lois Lane. But this Lois Lane, she didn't just reject the heroes, she killed them. All Lois could do is watch in horror at what she could have become. But before she could wonder any further, Maxima grabs her, stating that they need to get her out of here, now! Lois tells her they can't. They have to go to her if she did what she thinks. As Maxima lands, Lois's dark version states that they can never help themselves, but they are not talking with her around. Without another word, the dark Lois focuses her heat vision and melts Maxima's head. Maxima's body falls to the ground, and dark Lois asks why would she partner with her? Thought she'd be smarter than that, but it doesn't seem that some things ever change. The dark Lois grabs her alternate by the hair, stating that the Earth that she came from, the superheroes were a menace, genetic abominations, thinking that they were above the humans. So she wrote a series of articles about it, and they spread across the world. Maxima was a Star Lab scientist, her source. They were exposing them for what they truly were, until she gave herself powers. She then took on Superman, fighting him in the middle of Metropolis as they burned down the Daily Planet, destroying a museum full of children on a school trip. Her son John was on that trip, and he was buried under the burning bricks of the planet. She survived, but John didn't. Neither did Maxima. She died in the battle. Superman went on an apology tour. His last stop was with her in an interview. He didn't know what hit him when she pulled out a parting gift made by Maxima, Amber Kryptonite. It absorbed all of Superman's powers, and it killed him. And she cut off his damn head. The Dark Lois holds her counterpart up, telling her to look. This is her Earth. It is burning because of their superhero problem. And the truth is, they really are the same. And if they are, then she has at least thought of the possibility that they'd go rogue. The truth is, Lois did once too often. The Dark Lois begins to fly up, asking why is she so quiet? Because if she'd call for him, he'd come and save her. Go ahead, scream Superman's name and bring him right here. Lois knows that she doesn't have to scream. If she makes even the softest cry, he'd hear her. Calling him would be killing him, though. It'd kill them all. Clark has made many sacrifices in the past, so now it's her turn. Her time to bring that truth to power, no matter the risk or the cost. The dark her wanted her to scream? No, not now, not ever. Now we travel to Raven, falling through the cracks. The ground shakes as the fight goes on, and as Raven watches her team fight these monsters, she never thought that it would end like this. As it would seem that their team has won, the ground beneath them splits and everyone falls into a deep cave. And at the end, evil changes a person. Raven knows this all too well. It turns you into something unrecognizable. Everything that they are, warped and twisted into a nightmare, a shattered reflection. However, it wasn't Trigon calling to her, it was her own dark version. One who had her own team, who didn't believe in justice but in power. Each of the Teen Titans has to take on their own shadow, and the two Ravens watch. The Dark One says that she can join them. She doesn't really have a choice, actually. Soon the war will come to an end and they will win. Raven gathers her strength, blasting her evil twin away, stating that she must not have heard her the first time. Leave my friends alone! The Shade snarls, stating that they can't fight fate. But Raven disagrees. She can and she will. She once had no one but the shadows that tried to lead her astray. Those shadows were her only companions. They told her to choose power over honor, to choose her father. But then she found her true family. The darker variant of her withstands her attacks, telling her that she is weak, that their world is dead. It is time to come back home and lead your team to their true identity. Raven says that the Dark Multiverse's world is dependent on one thing, that she'd ever let a shadow, a vicious whisper, find a place in her heart, so she can take her team and their sick future back to hell. As Raven expels all of her power, sending her evil counterpart and team back into the hellfire, she lifts her friends out. Never did she think that it would end like this, but she always knew their light would lead the way. And while there are 3 more stories in the last 52, we are running short on time, my dear viewers. If you want to read the story of Penguin, John Constantine, and Swamp Thing, you might want to consider buying the issue yourself. But it's time that we get back to death metal to see what is going to happen with Diana and the One Who Laughs. Diana watches as the battle is unfolding all around her, the Bat family clashing against an army of crows led by the Robin King. Superman leads a group of his alters against the Dark Superman that was lost before he reached Earth, and he now has the power of several suns. Some have already fallen. As the forces of good clash against the Dark Earths, Diana lashes out, meeting the One Who Laughs in a battle of the gods. She knows that he is her final enemy, and she also knows that he is stronger than her. She reaches out, shrinking one of the Dark Earths, slamming it hard into his face, and he laughs, reaching down for the Teen Titans, lifting them up and throwing them across the battlefield. Diana takes precious moments to catch them. It's all her enemy needs as he slams her with enough force to knock them both through time. She slams into the ground as the dinosaurs are walking around her. She hears the voice of the One Who Laughs and orders the coward to show himself. Maybe if the folks respect the past this time, the big rock won't go boom. He shouts as he tackles her again. On the battlefield, Barry dodges lightning blasts from the Dark Wally that never stepped off of the Mobius chair. And Arthur is squeezed by a kraken that is controlled by his mother, who has become the Dark Queen of Atlantis. Harley and Abigail try to free Swamp Thing from a much bigger and angrier Guardian of the Green. The Bat family continues to fight against waves of crows. Tell me our shorts weren't this short, Jason yells as he cuts off the head of another crow. No way! They were so much shorter, Barbara shouts to her friends. I will not die by pixie boots. I will not die by pixie boots. Dick keeps repeating as he kicks and leaps among his enemies. Batman's villains stand by his side, Joker laughing as he kills Robins, the Robin King laughing and gloating as he watches the battle. My family can do this all day, Junior. Batman snarls at him. The Supermen are continuing to fight the last sun. Hit him with everything. We can destabilize his core. Clark shouts as he lashes out with Omega beams. Diana can see all of this and shouts for her friends to keep fighting. And when she looks around, she's suddenly surrounded by nothingness. Where am I? At the beginning of it all, the One Who Laughs cackles at her when suddenly they look up to see Perpetua's hand of creation. It reaches out, prepared to create the world and start history towards this moment. The one who laughs looks at her and tells her that no matter what she does, she will lose. If they don't restart the universe, half of her friends will be dead and the hands of creation will return and wipe the world from existence. Diana looks to the future and knows that he is right. There is no winning this battle. On the battlefield, Barry is distracted by Wally. The rogues appear, pulling the former hero from his chair and stopping him. Donna, Troy, Artemis, and Hippolyta arrive to save Arthur and his family from the dark version of his mother, and Dick screams as Barbara falls. Joker laughs as he tries to push his guts back inside of a wound in his stomach. Damien fights to stand by his father as another wave of crows rush them. Father, Damien. Joker laughs as he tries to push his guts back inside of a wound. Father, this is it. I want to tell you something. I need you to know. I definitely would have been the best Batman. Damien whispers to his father. The crows circle them as Batman, Damien, and Nightwing fight back to back. The Supermen begin to fall, Clark rushing forward, slamming hard into the last sun, bringing him away from the battlefield and out into space. Diana and the one who laughs stand as Perpetua's hand begins to create. He tells her that she has two choices. If she continues to fight, then neither of them will be strong enough to fight the hands of creation. Or you surrender. I kill the hands, and I will grant you, your friends, and everyone on Earth a restored Earth, safe and happy. He tells her, but he uses this moment of distraction to lash out at Diana. She dodges the attack, kicking the hand of Perpetua back into the one who laughs face. On Earth, Harley has fallen, and Batman's ring hand is cut off and the Black Lantern ring falls away. Clark is burning as he carries the last sun into space. Diana punches the one who laughs forward in time while this is going on. Past round tables of friends coming together, rockets bringing a young baby to Earth until they reach the fiery end of time, where all realities burn up in the ever-expanding sun that cannot be stopped. This is where you die, monster! She screams, and the one who laughs smiles. Better hurry then, because they're here. He cackles at her. Diana turns as she can see them coming, the hands of creation. The one who laughs tries to convince her one last time, just join him, and he'll restore her world. It doesn't have to end this way. He whispers to her, and back on Earth, Batman falls to his knees, surrounded by the bodies of the crows and his family. Man, oh man, what a neat fight! The Robin King laughs. He begins to gloat. He knows that Bruce can't hold his undead body together. Not without the Black Lantern ring. But you can rally! You're Batman after all. Say it for me, just once in that voice. I'm Batman. He laughs. Bruce nods as he looks down at the severed stump of his arm. Sure, kid. But first, I've met a lot of me and I've got to say, you're not the brightest if you think that I would keep the real ring on my hand. Batman says to him. The bat symbol on his chest begins to glow with the light of the Black Lantern symbol as he stands. See, now I have your army and mine. So yeah, I'm Batman. But it feels better to say, we're all Batman. Except you, punk. He tells him as the Bat family rises, the crows alongside them, now all under control of the Lord of the Dead, Batman. Isn't that right, old friend? Batman asks as Alfred steps out of the shadows. It certainly is, sir. And let me say, how much I've missed you all. Now, let's give this little brute a timeout, Alfred tells him. Out in space, Clark is dying as the last sun gloats. But suddenly Lex is there in one of his suits. Clark looks up, barely conscious, as he asks Lex what he's doing. No way this universe ends without me getting to kill at least one Superman. Now go, he shouts as he knocks Clark away. He smiles at the last sun, telling him that his suit is powered by a miniature black hole. Nonsense. Such a suit would be unstable. Any real damage would cause a black hole event. Huh? I guess that's why I've never worn it before. Lex says simply as that suit detonates and begins to suck everything into the black hole. But meanwhile, at the end of time, Diana continues to push the one who laughs into the sun as the villain screams for her to picture the perfect world that she could have had. She can see it, and she realizes it would be a world where her friends are young and happy, where this darkness never happened. She closes her eyes, and she looks at it and sees it unfold before her. She watches as she shoves the one who laughs screaming into the flames. For a long time, There's nothing. And so Diana finally opens up her eyes to the white void around her. A voice is speaking to her, a voice of creation. When they created the multiverse, their hope is that the people would ascend. But the people of her world activate the fight against this. My kind has rarely been so stunned and horrified. The voice tells her. So it's true? Everything is undone? Please, I must know. She whispers to the void, and the voice refuses to tell her until they have appeared as a form that she can understand. To show you an example of a being my kind does admire, a creation that we celebrate for its heroism. In moments, Diana stands before the younger version of herself, and she is confused. The young Diana smiles as she explains that she saved them, even though it would mean the end of her being. We have never seen any other multiverse do something so foolish or admirable. As such, you have caused us to rethink our methods. The young Diana explains. The hand tells her that her multiverse will be restored. All history and stories will be remembered and set once and for all. That there will be no more walls or boundaries in their reality. And so there will be greater threats, but greater possibilities, the young Diana says. Diana nods and promises that they will make the hands proud, but young Diana smiles and tells her, there will be a cost. If my life is a part of that cost, I will gladly give it, she says simply. But young Diana takes her hand and begins to lead her through the void, telling her, let us greet the future and let the truth be the metal that cuts our path always. The world has been restored. Superman gathered the heroes at the steps of the Hall of Justice, and he thanked everyone that fought in the battle, heroes, villains, and citizens alike. A great party is being thrown for everyone, for they have survived and the world is going on. But eventually, Barry took Wally away from the party, and he brought him into space. He should give him a new base of operations. The Totality. Something new. Think of it as a shield protecting the world from future threats, manned by the greatest minds, villains, and heroes together. The next stage of the Halls of Justice and Doom. Barry explains as he introduces Wally to the new team. Wally is shocked. The group explains that the multiverse has been restored with a myriad of new futures opening up every moment, but Lex explains that whole multiverses are being created, forming an omniverse, an infinite frontier. It is Mr. Terrific that explains that their Earth is no longer the center of the multiverse either. There are two others. Martian Manhunter explains that at least one of them is an Earth, and they are calling it Elseworld. And there you have it, the story of Death Metal, which led into Future State, which led into Infinite Frontier, which is the storyline we are doing right. Welcome to the Comicstorian channel, where we take some of your favorite narratives from video games to movies to comic books, and we break them down into an audio drama, allowing you to listen to them on your long drive or while playing your favorite video game, catching you up on your favorite pop culture elements while allowing you to lead your busy life. You see here, we also have a series called the Full Story Series, where we go into some of our older playlists, videos that have been around for a while, and we put them together to give you a long, enjoyable narrative. And today, we're going to be bringing you Immortal Hulk 1 through 13. That is the story of Hulk going to hell, and we discover exactly what this creepy, weird version of the Hulk is. It's one of my favorite storylines from Marvel recently, and I know a lot of you enjoyed it as well. So let's get you caught up so that we can continue the storyline and see where it's going next. Enjoy The Hulk Goes to Hell. In the middle of nowhere, Arizona, a man named Tommy nervously pulls up to the Roxxon gas station, trying to find the courage to do what he must. Across the lot, a mother calls out to her daughter to make sure that whatever she is buying is healthy. The daughter rolls her eyes, telling her, okay. Inside the store is another nameless man, reading a magazine off of the shelf. And as the daughter reaches into the cooler, she notices the nameless man staring at her and asks if he has a problem. The nameless man puts down his magazine and he begins to leave. But the daughter scoffs when he says, "Excuse me," and passes by. But as that happens, Tommy finally builds up his nerves and he runs into the store with a face covered, holding a gun. Tommy tells the clerk to not hit the alarms, just open the register. The clerk says, sure, anything he can. Just then the daughter sees what's happening. She drops her bottle, causing it to smash on the ground. The sound startles Tommy and he spins around and he fires his gun. The daughter grabs her chest as she falls to the ground, and all Tommy can do is stand there, frozen. The nameless man looks at the young girl, stating that he and he looks up. His eyes, they turn bright green, but before Bruce could change into the Hulk, he's shot in the forehead. The clerk holds up his arms, begging Tommy not to do it. He still hasn't hit the alarm yet, but Tommy points the gun at the clerk, and he pulls the trigger. Later, Detective Gloria Mays tells reporter Jackie McGee that their first victim was Sandra Ann Brockhurst, 12. The clerk was Josh Alfaro, age 22, and the third, he's a John Doe, probably someone local, but he does have a familiar face. Jackie scribbles her notes into her pad, asking if they're okay with that being posted tomorrow, and Gloria says hopefully that will loosen some lips and get people talking. But while the crime scene is being processed, the 3 bodies are transported to the morgue. However, Bruce's body slowly begins to change green, and his arm raises. A short while later, in another part of the town at an abandoned home, Tommy explains that he didn't want any of that stuff to happen. And the gun went off. Joe, the leader of the small biker gang, sits down telling him, yeah, real shame, but how much did you get? Tommy cries, asking, what? And Joe says, come on, how much did you get? Tommy tells him he's not sure, maybe a few hundred. Joe says, okay then. You can start paying me back the interest in what you owe me. I'm gonna let things slide for now. I got myself a real nice family. Everyone begins to laugh, and Joe pushes Tommy out, telling him to make sure to bring the rest of the money. Don't bring him another sob story. All right? Tommy turns to hurry and leave, but before he could go outside, there's a loud thoom and a tremor that sends everyone to the ground. Joe stumbles back, telling everyone to grab their guns and check on the generator. A few members of the gang run out, stating that the generator's been destroyed, and another says that he thinks he sees something. Seconds later, the man screams and Joe shouts, what the hell is that? A third member runs in, yelling that there's a devil out there. Something big. Joe cracks the man across the head, telling him to shut up. He's just another meth head. Everyone gather up, we're ending this now. The remaining members all point their guns at the door, and through the wall a pair of giant green arms burst through, grabbing Joe. Outside, Tommy is running to his car, breathing heavy as he searches for the keys to put into the lock, but the shouting scares him, and he drops them. He then hears nothing. He looks at the dark house and he pulls out his gun, asking, is anyone there? Hello? Anyone? And just then a giant shadow looms over Tommy in the moonlight, and the Hulk says, Sandra Ann Brockhurst. That was her name, and she was 12. Tommy stumbles back and the Hulk says, how does it feel in your hand? Heavy, right? All that stopping power? Heavier than it was at the range even. Tommy tells him no, and the Hulk goes on. You're probably wondering, right? All that power. What would happen if he just let loose? Tommy holds up his gun and he begins to shoot, but as the bullets pulling off of the Hulk, he says, you know, you should have shot someone who deserved it. But do you know what I found? It's because you've been lying to yourself. I can smell a liar. Tommy drops the gun, yelling, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I'll go to the police, just I have a family. I have a little girl. Didn't you ever make a mistake? Please, I'm not a bad guy. Am I? The Hulk smiles as he reaches down, asking Tommy, what do you think? The next morning, Bruce wakes up and gets cleaned up. And as he washes his hands, he tells himself, I'm not a bad person. Am I? He looks in the mirror and he sees the Hulk staring right back at him, asking him, what do you think? While avoiding the prying eyes of many, Bruce Banner spends a lot of time alone, often in a small room. But as he wakes from his nightmare, he tells himself that it's not the bomb that he dreams about, it's the waiting. Being trapped in a tiny room with a Geiger counter. The radiation that he's taken, and nobody could survive this. They call it the walking ghost phase. You feel like you're healthy, like you're not dead, but death is coming. It's coming in the form of a hissing Geiger counter. It crackles, it laughs at him, and it won't shut up. It won't leave him alone. It just won't leave him alone. As he blinks, he looks out the bus window. Did he just say all that stuff out loud? It doesn't really matter, the bus is mostly empty. Nobody to give a fitfully sleeping stranger a second look. But that's the third night in a row with the same dream. He should just stop sleeping, or at least at night. The night is his time. The bus makes a stop and Bruce feels an itch in the back of his skull. His seat is no longer comfortable. It's a sign. There's something here for him. Bruce heads into the diner to get something to eat and try to enjoy one of the few things that he can enjoy. Eating. The taste, the smell, everything about it. He can still enjoy it, even with him looking back at him. But it isn't so bad now. He just finds ways to use that power inside, ways to use him to bring a measure of justice to this world, a way to atone for his sins. Bruce heads out and he looks down at the papers and he sees the headline, Hulk sighted by a reporter named Jackie McGee from the Arizona Herald. Bruce looks around. Should he run? Will someone recognize him? He looks down and he sees the local paper with the headline, Mystery Deaths Are Nothing to Worry About. Yes, that's something he's interested in. Nobody should recognize him, so he should be able to ask around, and he'll start at the bars. He asks the bartender about these deaths, and one of the patrons says that he knows exactly what it is. It's grief. 4 people have fallen into the same thing. They lose someone, they bury them. They fall into grief. After that, the sickness comes. It's like a chain of sickness. Soon the whole town will be grieving. What then? The bartender tells the man to give it a rest. She doesn't need him scaring off the clientele. And Bruce asks, what started this chain of grief? A man lowers his glass, telling him, that's easy. It was when the Fry boy died. The bartender tells the man to hush. And Bruce says, who's that? The bartender takes out her phone and says that she should have a picture of him. His name was Del Fry. Prom king, star quarterback, you name it, he was the best at it. He died of some embolism or something, just kneeled over and died. Nice kid. Rich too. His father was a doctor, invented something or made it better. Something like that. What was it, medical treatment? Cancer treatment? Nah, radiation treatment. When Bruce hears those words, the itch returns, focused on a single point. Right where the arrow that killed him went in. It wasn't long ago that Bruce had asked an acquaintance to fire a special kind of arrow into his brain. It was a complex situation, but he needed to know if he could die. The arrow did a lot of damage, and he's not sure that he's fully healed, but now his other thinks he's smarter. Bruce wanders through the town cemetery, and he finds himself stopping at Del Fry's grave, with something telling him that it all started right here. Something in this place, in the air, the soil, something he recognizes. Something he doesn't want to recognize. Something that's a part of him. Bruce stumbles back, stating no. He runs to a payphone calling the police, stating that it's gamma radiation emitting from the grave. Anybody visiting it is in danger of acute radiation syndrome. It's like a flu at first, food poisoning, but it's also called the walking ghost phase. No, he doesn't have an exact reading. No, he can't give you his name. You know what? Fine. You want my name? It's Robert Bruce Banner, and don't make me angry. He hurries, knowing that got their attention. And there's still something else, though. He saw it on the way in, a flash of green in the distant mountain. He begins to climb the side of that mountain, inching closer and closer to the source of that green light. And as he climbs into a cave, he sees the bodies scattered about, with a voice stating that they are so sorry. Bruce asks, Dr. Fry? And the bright green radioactive body of Dr. Fry lunges forward, telling Bruce, I'm sorry, but I can't let anyone find me. As Dr. Fry holds Bruce down by his neck, he thinks to himself, he wanted to know if he could die, and he could. With that, there's a loud crack as Bruce's arms turn green, and the Hulk jumps up, slamming Dr. Fry into the ground. Sure, Bruce Banner can die, but the Hulk can't. Dr. Fry shouts, oh God, you're Dr. Banner! The Hulk picks up Dr. Fry, asking, are you trying to piss me off? Your kid, what's his name, Del? It started with him, didn't it? And don't lie, I can smell a liar. Dr. Fry pauses for a moment and tells him, he was afraid of death. I never really thought of it until my wife Claire died. I have wondered what the afterlife was like. I just couldn't imagine it. All the joys of touch and taste and smell, the thought of it all just gone. I couldn't let that happen, so I threw myself into my work. Everyone saw Dr. Banner as a cautionary tale, but not me. I made minor improvements to the conventional cancer treatments, but the real work, I kept that to myself. Human testing began with me and it went perfectly. After a month of initial injection, I felt 10 years younger. The gamma-powered healing factor had no side effects, and my son was going pro. With all the injuries that he could face, I couldn't wait, so I injected him and something happened. He said he saw a green door, and someone was looking back at him, It's below us. That's when he fell over and he was dead within seconds. After that, I destroyed the serum. Nobody suspected me, so I never had to confess. The Hulk scoffs. I've got it from here. So you hid yourself in the middle of nowhere, and between killing anyone who found you, you began to wonder why. Why did you live? Well, science is the other guy, but maybe you built up a tolerance, created your very own walking ghost phase. That's the irony of it all. You're afraid of death, and now you are death. You loved your son, but you put him in a grave. Dr. Fry cowers. Oh, God. And Hulk tells him, yeah, now you're getting it. He's radioactive. 6 feet of Earth isn't enough to contain that. Everyone who goes to mourn walks away with a fatal dose and becomes a walking ghost. How many has it been, Dr. Fry? How many have to die because you were scared? Dr. Fry backs up. Please, I've made mistakes. I don't want to die. The Hulk laughs. Is that so? Well, you made your bed. It's time to lie in it. Moments pass, and as Dr. Fry opens his eyes, he begins to rub his face, but nothing comes. His arms, his legs, they are gone. And now he's buried deep beneath within the mountain where he can live and never die. If you listen closely, in the dead of the night, you can hear him begging. Death is better. Please, please let me die. With news of Hulk being sighted across the United States, Arizona Herald reporter Jackie McGee visits the last known place where Bruce Banner has been seen, South Dakota. She sits down with the different members of the community to get their take on what happened when they ran into the Hulk. The first person, the cop, says that he's got a story for her. They just got a call about a crime in progress at the old church at Mercer Avenue. What they didn't expect, though, was Hotshot, the human ray gun. Hotshot disarmed them and they needed themselves a real hero to handle things. Next up was the bartender. He recalled an event when Bruce came into his bar. He looked out of place, clothes didn't fit, he had the look of a serial killer. He got angry about something, and then when he saw something going on at Mercer Avenue on TV, he grabbed a knife. Obviously, he was like, whoa! And then he ran out the door. The next person was an old lady. Her view of things were a little, well, different than what others saw. She was at a church when Hotshot came in. When he burst in, he shouted that his love was dying. The priest said that he needed to turn himself in, and then he yelled that nobody understands love. The boy really did look like James Dean, though. Finally, Jackie visits the priest to get his side of the story. Unlike what the old woman said, he could somewhat understand what Hotshot was saying when he broke into the church. He was clearly upset, stating that the devil was inside of his girlfriend. Something about something underneath below everything got into her and they needed an exorcism or something. He then went back to it, stating something about a door below, a green door below. What does it even mean? The cops arrived, stating that they would get someone to negotiate, but at that point, Hotshot started to lose it. He asked God for salvation. The answer he sent, well, it was big, it was green, and it was angry. The old woman goes on stating that it was horrible. The giant beast came in and broke the hands of that handsome young man. The cop continues the story, stating that after the Hulk literally disarmed Hotshot, Hotshot still had more tricks up his sleeve. The priest said, oh God, he couldn't look away. He could see right through him. His chest was ripped wide open. They all waited for him to fall, but instead the hole just regrew itself and the look on his face. The boy said what everyone was thinking. It's you. You're the shadow. You're the one below all, the devil himself. The cop laughs, asking, you know what the big guy said? The Hulk said, you're damn right. And he clobbered him good. The next part, well, yeah, the next part wasn't so fun. The priest says that he and the officer went to the motel where the boy was staying. He saw the body. She was smiling at them when they went in. It was a peaceful smile. Green door was written on the wall. He wasn't able to pray since that day. What does that mean? Lastly, the old woman finishes her story, stating that she went to visit the young man and he said that it wasn't him who killed her. He did tie her to the chair because her power was out of control. He would never. She was alive when he left. He loved her. They just gotta believe him. As it turned out, the young man found a way to hang himself in his cell. Such a tragedy. Well, T. Jackie sighs as she sits back in her chair, asking what is she supposed to do with all of this? 3 people with 3 stories, all of them the same story though. They just have different perspectives as to what happened, and at the center of it all, the Hulk. She receives a call from an unknown number.
there no
She picks it
in,
up,
or am I
and the voice on
crazy?
the other line states is this Jacqueline McGee from the Arizona Herald. She asks who is it, and the man says Walter Lakowski. He works for Alpha Flight, the International Space Team, or he did. Anyway, he's been reading her recent articles, and it would seem that she's the only person actively looking for Bruce Banner, apart from him, that is. Why? Well, Bruce is an old college buddy of his. He wants him to know, if they're being totally honest here, he could use her particular expertise. Right, exactly. There's something that he wants her to take a look at. Several days later at a bus station in South Dakota, Jackie McGee sits telling her boss no, they cannot change the pricing. They were the ones who broke the story. Now everyone's sniffing green blood in the air. If they want to stay in the race, it's not enough to just chase Banner. They need him. No, this has nothing to do with what happened back then. Look, if they can't get Banner, the next best thing is his college roommate. Just then Walter walks up with a suitcase stating, "Hi, I'm Walter, or Sasquatch if you prefer. Carried it his own hairy Alpha Hulk turned space diplomat, and Bruce Banner's college roommate. Pleasure to meet you all." Jackie gets up shaking Walter's hand, stating that she's sorry. She was just speaking to her editor, and there was a fresh Hulk sighting. Walter laughs, telling her, "I guess we're going to be doing this on the move. What do you want to know first?" As the two jump in the car, Jackie asks how about they start with how Walter and Bruce Banner met. Walter tells her, well, it was at Penn State. Bruce transferred there for a semester since they have lab facilities that the Desert State didn't have. Jackie asks, Gamma facilities? And Walter laughs, haha, yep. Even back then, Bruce is all about that thing. Bruce needed a research assistant, and there I was, a football scholarship and a head for physics. We got along like a house on fire. Sure, we had some disagreements every once in a while, but his mother died and his father was in an institute, so he held a lot in. One day he even gave all of his clothes to Goodwill and bought 10 identical suits like Einstein did. Never understood why they were purple pants, though. Well, time passed and eventually it happened. Bruce had done it. The atomic scientist had become the Hulk. That's when things began to get serious. Long story short, I quit football and I made it my mission to duplicate what Bruce did. Ever been hit by a gamma bomb? It's a real trip. Jackie asks, a trip, huh? And then remembers back to when she was a little girl and her father told her not to look. Do not look him in the eye. Except she did. Walter then says that he knows that look in her eye, and that's why he did what he did. The thinking was that his Hulk could counter Bruce's Hulk. Bruce had brains and no strength, where he had strength and not so much brains. It was supposed to be a deterrent for Canada, for the world really, but his personality would remain in control. If she couldn't tell, he's a pretty laid-back guy, not prone to anger. He went north to do some testing, and the controlled gamma bombardment did something they didn't expect, something outside conventional science. It opened something, kind of door. A world of beasts and demons. One of them got into him. Tanarok. It was a long time ago, and Tanarok's dead, and I'm in control of Sasquatch now, really. A few moments later, the two pull up to the scene of a 3-car pileup, and Walter says, it looks like the Hulk School of Vehicle Maintenance showed up. Jackie begins to take pictures, stating, okay, we gotta look for a bar. Bruce is always getting his information from bars. A short while later, Jackie holds up a photo of Bruce, and the waitress says, yeah, that's him. Asking all sorts of questions about Noah Swanson. Jackie says she spoke with one of the officers and Noah was a meth dealer. It's his van out there mashed up with all his cars, isn't it? As Jackie interviews the waitress, a fight then begins to break out with two of the bar patrons. Walter hurries over to separate the two of them, asking what's going on. What's got them all riled up on such a nice day? The man with the bandage on his nose says, him. He knows all about it. Walter turns and asks the second man what he's talking about. But while Walter is looking in the other direction, the man with the bandage pulls out a knife and he stabs Walter in the back. Walter falls to the ground and the man with the bandage shouts that he didn't mean to. The second man yells that they gotta go, they just killed a man. And later in the hospital, Jackie gives the detective the details as to what happened. The detective jots down her statement and asks if she can remember anything else, be sure to call them. And if she does find Bruce Banner, they would like to talk to him as well. The detective walks off and Jackie sighs, stating, yeah, she would too. Just then a man sits down next to her, stating, good timing then, here I am. What happened to Walter? Jackie sits right up in her seat, not making eye contact with Bruce Banner. She says that Walter's in surgery. He was stabbed while they were looking for him. What are you doing here, Mr. Banner? Bruce tells her that he followed a hunch. All humans emit radiation. Simple biophonics, really. Barely measurable. But the gamma affected, they have unique signatures. Walter's is just like his. Jackie asks, so you can sense him? And Bruce says, no, but he can. Inside the operating room, the doctor stops working and says that he's gonna call it time of, oh my God. Walter's body begins to change into Sasquatch, and Bruce tells her it's nighttime now, and nighttime is his time. You need to evacuate the hospital now. The doctors all huddled together, stating, oh God, above. But Sasquatch stops them, stating, God above? No, quite the reverse. Jackie says, wait a minute, I got questions for you. You owe me. Bruce tells her, yeah, I owe a lot of people, something from stolen pants to ruined lives. Where you fall on that spectrum will have to wait. Yeah, what are you going to do? Tell people to run from a man who's risen from the dead? Why would anyone believe you? Just then, screaming can be heard from the operating room, and Bruce tells her, you're a reporter. It's your job to make people believe you. Besides, screaming will probably help. He pushes open the doors to the operating room and says, hello, Walter. Can we talk? Sasquatch lips the blood from his claws and he looks back. I am not Walter. He swipes, cutting Bruce's throat, telling him, and I would rather talk to the real you. Bruce falls to the ground with Sasquatch asking, it hurts to die, doesn't it? Bruce coughs up blood, telling him, oh, I see. But as the Hulk comes out, he says, you heard Banner. I take it personally. He jumps up, punching Sasquatch, telling him, you're not Lekowski. That fits. Lekowski's a creep. Smug little know-it-all. The Hulk throws Sasquatch through a wall, finishing, but Lekowski never had 3 murders in him. You're something else, aren't you? See, nobody's ever loved Walt for his mind. They only wanted the jock. He only feels needed when he's a furry. Stays that way for months. Am I getting warm? Sasquatch thrusts his claws into the Hulk's chest, telling him, very clever little monster. Hulk pulls out Sasquatch's arm, telling him, Lekowski stayed Sasquatch too long. Left the door open and you got in through a green door. You got into Hotshot's girlfriend too, didn't you? What was that about? Why did you want my attention? What are you? Tanarak and Mephisto, something worse? Who's in there? Sasquatch laughs, telling him, look in the mirror behind you. Hulk starts to look back, stating, real original. And when he looks, he sees himself holding Brian Banner, Bruce Banner's father. Hulk pauses and says, Daddy? Brian lashes out at the Hulk, telling him, don't you remember? You've known what would happen since the beginning. Those brilliant intuitive leaps. From the day you were born, it was you. The monster inside. I should have killed you while you slept in the crib. Sasquatch slams Hulk into a wall and Hulk tells him, it's not him. It can't be. And Brian tells him, you see the ghosts and smell eyes, don't you? You'd know if it wasn't true. I'm the father that Bruce killed. Back through the green door. Back from death. Brian jabs his claws into the Hulk's stomach, asking, how does it feel? That's the proof. Who else would hurt you like this? Who else would make the monster scared? Hulk shouts, no, never! And he kicks Brian in the face. Hulk gets up, telling him, you're just a man who killed his wife and tried to kill his son. You scare Banner. You think that gives you power over me? You think that makes you special? Not special. Puny human. Hulk punches Brian through a wall, yelling, you're nothing. Any power you have, someone gave you. Who brought you back? Who opened the door? Tell me or I'll smash. Brian starts to get up, stating that it needs a host personality to work in this world. It burrows in, wears our souls like masks on a stage. Help me. Hulk shouts, asking, what does that mean? What's behind you? Hulk punches again and Brian catches the hit, telling him, every light casts a shadow. Every mirror there is a reflection. As above, as below. He stabs his claws into the Hulk's eyes, telling him, take a look. You'll see darker shadows than your own. He continues ripping into the Hulk, asking, how many do you have to? And then he stops and he feels something shoot into his arm. He looks back to see a security officer with a taser and says, well boy, there's one more. He whips his arm back, tearing through the security guard, telling Jackie, remember this, it's the monster's fault. He holds his arms up to swipe at Jackie, but the Hulk grabs him, stating, Gamma. Gamma is what made Lekowski what he is. Keeps the green door open, doesn't it? But the difference between me and you, I eat Gamma. Hulk grabs onto his body, absorbing all of the Gamma radiation until Sasquatch begins to revert into Walter. As Jackie helps lay Walter out, Hulk says that he just took all of Lekowski's radiation. No more Sasquatch, no more Dad, or whatever that was. She checks his pulse and says that the Hulk saved him. The Hulk rubs his eyes, telling her, shut up. You're with the local paper and you drove over how many states and you can't even look Banner in the face? Yeah, I noticed. Whatever this is to you, whatever he owes you, it's personal. The truth now. She looks back, stating that when she was 15, the Hulk destroyed her home, her neighborhood. They said to never look him in the eye, but she did. And she has questions. He stares for a moment in silence and tells her, fine, one question, make it quick. She gets up, asking her one question. How does she do it? How does she get to be what he is? He stares back for a few seconds and then turns, telling her, just go home. As he leaves the hospital, he looks at his reflection in the car window, and what he sees is Brian Banner. Now he sits at the edge of his motel bed, and he thinks back to the first time that he died. He couldn't stop screaming, so he got back up. Something inside him was unlocked, a dark opposite, a shadow self. The person was stronger than him, stronger than anyone really, even too strong for death to claim. The thing is, Bruce Banner can die, but only during the day. The problem is, when night comes, he drags him back. Bruce stares at the mirror, watching the Hulk beat against the glass, trying to break out as he drinks his coffee, thinking, well, that's new. It's been 2 days since the fight with Walter, and he hasn't dared to let him out since. Hulk defeated Sasquatch, draining Walter's gamma radiation, but he's been starting to suspect that something else came with that. He needs to talk to the Hulk, but he can't just let him free. So now it's probably time to try something new. Bruce grabs a piece of paper and a pen, and he closes his eyes, emptying his mind, letting the pen move on its own. Bruce's hand slowly begins to scribble down something, and when his hand comes to a stop, he opens up his eyes. He reads the word home, and he asks the Hulk, what does that even mean? Where's home? Meanwhile, in California, Betty Ross watches the news as the reporter explains that social media has been abuzz with its latest sighting of the Hulk. She turns the TV off, wiping away the tears, stating, just stop. Her husband isn't back from the dead. If he was, why wouldn't he have let her know? That Hulk can't be Bruce Banner. But elsewhere at an undisclosed location, a group of monitors watch all people, living or dead, that Bruce has ever sought out to for help. One of the guys monitoring states that this is kind of creepy. This one just isn't a civilian, it's General Ross's daughter, the boss of our boss. It feels like, but the voice of General 14 tells the group of monitors that everyone on the screens in front of them is not civilians. They are not friendlies. They've all given aid and comfort to the Hulk before, and that makes them an enemy. As you were. As 14 closes the door, Dr. Clive sips his drink, asking, would Ross mind if he knew? 14 tells him that it is not Ross's business to know. The General was too close to Banner, and right now, he understands that. But it is best for Ross to focus on Steve Rogers' situation and leave the Hulk operations to a trusted second-in-command such as himself. As the two walk into the next room, a giant test tube glows green as Del Fry's body floats in it. And Clive asks how's their little buddy today. Clive's assistant Charlene says that it's been the same since they dug him out of that grave. His pain receptors are still off the charts. He's in agony. If they would just make some adjustments to the tank, they could possibly reduce them, eliminate them even. Clive takes another drink, stating, yeah, except recalibrating the system would take days. And what would that get them? Forget his little fee-fees. Where are they at on replicating him? Another tech, Jay, says, not much. They're pretty sure that what caused this in his blood, some kind of gamma serum. Well, it's like cracking a code in a dead language. Clive sips more of his drink, telling 14, see, we can't make progress without an actual Hulk, but not just the Hulk, a Hulk. Like Cho or Walters. People might actually miss them. 14 thinks for a second and then he asks, what about Sasquatch? A short while later, up at the Alpha Flight space station, Walter sits up from his bed as Carol walks in, stating that she just got off the phone with General 14. He's currently in charge of the U.S. Hulk operations, ex-USAF like her, and he played that card a lot, building up a rapport. He's a very charming man who very charmingly threatened him with legal injection, after extradition and trial, of course. For what it's worth, he was very apologetic. He'd love to make it all go away. Pip scoffs. He bets. But what does he get in return? Carol says that's the thing. If her team secures Banner for the proper authorities, Walter's exonerated. If I say no, they're gonna take him. Shaman then asks how are they supposed to defeat the Hulk? Carol tells him not this team, her other team. Back on Earth, Bruce walks down the road thinking, we really are going home. My home, that is. It makes perfect sense. We're going to the place where I'm the strongest to defeat whatever it is that's inside of us. As Bruce holds out his thumb at a passing car, he realizes that the light coming towards him isn't a car. Bruce looks up to see Carol and he says, hello, always a pleasure, or this business. The Avengers have been very good at leaving me alone since I came back. Carol stares, stating that the Hulk helped save the world. It earned him some rope, but this is a very different set of Avengers. If she's being honest, the rope's about to run out. As other members of the Avengers appear, Jennifer looks at Bruce, rather disappointed, as she starts to change into the She-Hulk, stating, you're disappointed? I almost died. I was in a coma, and when I woke up, I found out that you killed yourself. You knew what that would do to me. You forced my friend, had to guilt Clint Barton into doing it. You knew what that would do to. Thor grabs Jennifer by the shoulder, telling her, control yourself. Jennifer says the Hulk knows. She knows. Carol places her hands on her hips, stating that they're not here to hurt him, but he's gonna come with them. And Bruce asks, right now? Are you sure about that? The sun is down. Carol tells him yes, they know about his patterns. Every sighting has been the same. The night is his time. And in order to set the Hulk free, Bruce Banner has to die. Bruce grits his teeth, stating, "That's my secret. I'm already dead." As soon as Bruce finishes, his body begins to change and it begins to grow. The Hulk lunges forward, cracking Thor across the face with enough force to knock a tooth out of the mouth of a god. Thor stumbles back, stating, "By Odin." And Hulk tells him, "Daddy can't help you now." Captain America leaps in front of Thor, protecting him from another hit, but the Hulk punches the shield, stating, "Look, it's Captain Hydra. If I rip your head off, are two more gonna come out?" Captain America struggles, holding the Hulk back, stating that wasn't him. Black Panther leaps onto the Hulk's shoulders, telling him, "Perhaps this will bring you to your senses." And he's shot. It's you meaning behind it all. Or any of the others. I was the one protecting you.
I think it just include. It's actually a smaller version of something we already watched. I thought this included different stories. I was wrong. Alright, Spider-Man's Last Stand then.
Welcome to the full story series right here at Comicstorian. If you're curious what this is, we basically give you audio dramas, narratives brought to you by myself, Benny, of your favorite comic books and video game storylines and movies and stuff like that. A full story series is after we've been working on a single storyline for multiple months or even sometimes years, we put them together in a much longer video for you to enjoy. That way you don't have to find each and every one of the videos. Today is going to be Spider-Man: The Last Stand. It's a part of the Marvel Knights run, and it came out around the 90s, early 2000-ish time frame. Either way, it was a fun storyline. You guys seem to enjoy it. Today, we're going to tell you that full story. As the rain falls in the busy streets of New York, everyone hurries along to try and get to their jobs. It was just a normal day until two diner workers go out to take the trash and they find Spider-Man lying lifeless with the garbage. The first man stares, stating, "Great. Now they're gonna have to call the cops again for another psycho sleeping in the trash." The second man comes out, and as he listens, he asks if that guy's trying to say something under the mask. Spider-Man weakly tells the two of them to get back into the store. The first man asks, "What?" And then another voice from nowhere says, "I'm pretty sure Spider-Man's trying to warn you about something." Just then, the Green Goblin floats down throwing pumpkin bombs, and Spider-Man jumps up, grabbing the men, throwing them away from the blasts. Green Goblin flies his glider into Spider-Man, telling him, "Take a deep breath, Parker!" As they go barreling through the busy streets, Spider-Man tries to fight back, thinking Green Goblin isn't doing this for money. That would be too obvious. What he did 4 hours ago was hold 18 people hostage, threaten to gas them unless his demands of Spider-Man stabbing himself in the stomach with a knife were met. Naturally, Spider-Man didn't comply, and here they are now. Spider-Man punches into Green Goblin as they tumble back to the ground, and as Spider-Man looks for something to hit the Green Goblin with, a pedestrian shouts, "The mailbox!" Spider-Man grabs the mailbox, bashing it over Green Goblin's head, and another person in the crowd says, "Ouch!" As Spider-Man weds Green Goblin up, he asks, "What? If I didn't knock him out, he would end up killing people." The man calls out to take it easy. He isn't judging. Just now that guy's gonna have brain damage. Another pedestrian looks down at a handful of pumpkin bombs that fell out of the Green Goblin pouch. As Spider-Man shouts, "Stay away from those!" Before he could get over there, the bombs begin to go off, throwing the pedestrians across the street. He runs over asking, "What is the matter with you? Why would you get close to those?" But soon the city cheers turn to disgust, asking how could Spider-Man do the things that he has done. He let an innocent bystander get hurt, and he nearly killed someone with a mailbox. What kind of hero is Spider-Man? Just before the police arrive, Spider-Man sneaks away to head back to Aunt May's home, where she's packing, getting ready to move. Without his costume, Peter stumbles into the house as his wife MJ and Aunt May help clean him up. Peter Parker sits in his room telling May that he's going to miss this place. Ever since he's left, nothing's changed. May hugs him, telling him that it was a fresh start and they'll be closer together in the city. This is for the best. They both hug. Across the street, a pair of eyes stare into the window. The next day, Peter receives a call from the city council that some of the kids vandalized his Uncle Ben's tombstone. He hurries down to the cemetery to see, stating that it's kind of strange that this tombstone would be targeted. It didn't have any special features or anything like that. The city worker tells him it was probably nothing personal, but as much as he hates to say it, these random occurrences are starting to become more and more frequent. Just then, Peter gets a call, and as he answers, he asks, "Aunt May?" The voice on the other end tells him, "Not even close, Spider-Man. Nice job finally taking out the Green Goblin. Funny, the news is stating that he's looking to charge Spider-Man with aggravated assault, huh?" Peter says, I'm sorry, there must be some kind of a mistake." The voice tells him, "Please, Let's be adults about this, Peter. Wasn't defiling your uncle's grave enough? Do we really have to do something truly awful? Peter asks, what do they want? And the voice tells him, we just want you to realize how bad things can get when something as simple as your real name falls into the wrong hands. Peter then asks, what are you talking about? And the voice says, care for a wheat snack, sweetie? Peter hangs up the phone, rushing over to May's new apartment without even changing into his costume, almost not caring who sees him at this point. He does, however, make sure to not stay in one spot long enough for anyone to really get a look at his face. He swings around the building, jumping through the apartment window, calling out, on May! On May! But as he looks around, he sees the apartment has been ransacked and May is nowhere to be found. After sending MJ away in fear that she may be targeted next, Peter makes a call to one of the only people who know his real identity, Black Cat. As Black Cat deals with her issues, she really can't be of any help at the moment. She's no angel, but even Black Cats know that there are certain lines you don't cross. No trying to peek under the mask, and don't get people's families involved. Peter tells her that he really needs her help on this. He doesn't know where to start, and having a second pair of eyes would really help. So she sighs and tells him she's in Florida, dealing with a missing persons case, but she'll try and take the next flight back to New York. In the meantime, it might be a good idea to make a list of everyone who knows your secret identity. There's Eddie Brock, her, Aunt May, Mary Jane, and Peter then realizes that, oh my god, Osborn, over on Rikers Island, prisoned up with some of the most powerful supervillains. Peter puts on his costume and he asks Osborn what he's done with her. Osborn holds up his hand, telling security, it would seem we have a breach. If you could send somebody to... But Peter stops him, telling him the guard is on a bathroom break. Now before this window gets kicked in, where the hell is she? Osborn tells him, you're gonna have to be a little more specific, Parker. Peter shouts, asking, what have you done with Aunt May? Osborn looks up from his book, telling him, now, that's interesting. And you're assuming I'm the one behind it. Well, that would mean that not just Uncle Ben's blood is on your hands, but soon you're Aunt May's. Not to mention that dead blonde you used to dance with. Besides, how could I have done it? You've got me locked up. That
How is he still
unless
alive?
I shared your little secret with a mutual acquaintance. Surely you didn't think that I would keep this all to myself, right? I just told a friend that if Spider-Man ever threw Green Goblin in jail, he would need someone kidnapped. It's nothing personal. Just keep in mind the grisly reputation that all of the little lunatics crawling around here have. Then again, I could also be lying. Just take advantage of a good boy in a bad situation. Peter leaves, telling him, lately, he can't even tell if the mask is on or off with him anymore. Osborn takes off his glasses and he looks up into the camera, asking the security guard, enjoy your leak, Officer Jankowitz? With no one else to turn to, Peter makes a desperate attempt to get a hold of the Avengers. As he knocks on the door, Jarvis tells him, sure, I'll get Captain America for you, but who's there? The Amazing Spider-Man? Peter shouts, no, please don't make me do this the hard way. Just let me in so that I can explain what's going on. Jarvis tells him that he can have a good night. Hopefully our frat house boys find this to be funny when the police arrive to take you away. As the mansion guards show up, Peter kicks in the door to try and find any hero that he can. Suddenly there's a blue light as Quicksilver speeds through, knocking Peter through several walls. Before Quicksilver could punch Peter though, Captain America shows up, telling him, stand down. Let's hear what this gentleman has to say before things get out of hand. Cap helps Peter up, and Peter tells him, this is gonna sound crazy, mostly because none of you know my identity, but my aunt has been kidnapped. I need to see Fury. Cap asks, isn't this something that we could help you with? Nick's currently in a parallel reality. Peter says, well, since Fury already knows who I am, it makes things a little less complicated. Cap tells him, doesn't matter if we know who you are or not, and frankly, we really don't care to know. If you need help, we'll get some information to go off of. Peter then says it's easy for him to say, all the people he grew up with are already deceased. It's not like him going public will put his childhood sweetheart in danger. You know what? Sorry. Bad idea. I'm stressed and I'm worried about my aunt. Sorry for wasting everyone's time. Cap tries to tell Peter, wait, but Peter doesn't respond and he leaves. Now, without the heroes to turn to, Peter makes one last-ditch effort to try and find Aunt May, and that means speaking with the owl. Peter easily knocks out the owl's man, and as the owl pours himself a glass of wine, he asks, what does Spider-Man want? Peter hands him a picture of Aunt May, stating that there's a kidnapped victim by the name of May Parker. She was taken from her apartment less than 24 hours ago, and he has suspicions that a costume was involved. Owl tells him that this has nothing to do with him, but Peter says that it should when someone is trying to take over Kingpin's empire. That would mean that Spider-Man would owe him. For a fat little man with his eyes on becoming New York's next mob boss, this should be worth a lot. Owl takes a sip of his wine and says, wait there while I make a few phone calls. Short while later, he returns, stating, Electro and the Vulture. Peter asks if he's sure, and the owl says, my sources are impeccable. Peter quickly jumps out the window, stating thanks. And the owl tells him, you are more than welcome. Elsewhere in the city, Vulture tells Electro that they shouldn't be doing this. They're supposed to be holed up in a hotel until the wheelman is ready to get them. Electro laughs, telling him, it's going to be fine. We just needed to get out of that place and into a bar. I know just the place. The two enter a secret underground bar, and the bouncer yells to Electro, it's good to see you again, how you been? Electro says that he's been supercharged as ever. Now him and his friend are gonna go look for a good time tonight. Got anyone special for the Vulture? Vulture whispers to Electro that if he's being honest, this kind of thing is very distasteful and exploitative. Electro tells him Vultures are supposed to be exploitative. Just shut up and have some fun for once in your life. As Electro leaves his date, she begins changing shapes into the other female superheroes, asking what he's in the mood for tonight. Sue Richards, Scarlet Witch, maybe Marina? Electro opens up the door, stating, actually, there's something I was interested in. But as the door swings open, Electro sees the room covered in webs, and Peter telling him, I'm sorry to spoil your party. Electro pushes the woman away, trying to shock Peter, but as Peter dodges, he punches Electro, asking, really? Do you think I'm that stupid? He tackles Electro out of the room. Vulture and his date see this, and the woman shouts, you have to do something! Vulture grabs his suitcase, telling them, it doesn't work like that. My costume is back in the hotel. As Vulture jumps out the window, Peter tells him, you're not going anywhere! And he shoots the webbing, hitting the suitcase. Electro shouts to Vulture to let go of the case, but as Vulture pulls back, the suitcase pops open with money raining down onto the streets. Electro sets off an explosion, shooting Peter out of the building, screaming, that was all the money we had, you idiot! Vulture grabs the empty suitcase, stating, well, it's gone. The 20 million is scattered across the neighborhood. What are we going to do? Electro then tells him, we're gonna crucify that clown. No more fun and games. We're gonna tear Spider-Man apart for this. Electro jumps out chasing after Peter, but every time he gets close, Peter would punch him down. As the two land on a passing taxi, Electro sends an electrical shock through the car and into Peter. Peter manages to kick Electro back to stop him, but Electro blasts him into the air, asking, what the hell? That actually hurts, you little runt. This time you've gotten yourself in way over your head. This was just between bad guys. Spider-Man shouldn't have been involved. Just then, Electro begins to use his power to pick up small metal objects, and he begins to shoot them at Peter. All of the missed shots land into cars and other things, and Peter shouts for him, stop! You could hurt someone! Electro yells, yeah! Well, you just cost me $20 million! I'm gonna be taking it out on someone! Seconds later, the car that Peter was standing on explodes, with Peter shouting, stop! Don't do this! Electro walks up, lifting the nearby cars, asking, do you have any idea how pathetic you sound? When you're in prison for a long time, you find new ways to use your powers, just like... And that's when all of the cars that Electro has lifted come crashing down onto Peter, exploding, setting everyone on fire. With no sign of Spider-Man, Electro begins to escape, but Peter barrels into him from behind, throwing the two into an abandoned building. Peter doesn't say anything. He just feels his blind rage, and he punches him over and over again. Electro stumbles back, telling him, I'm gonna burn your face off! And Peter points to the sign, telling him, gas and propane. Do you really think that's a good idea? A few moments later, the entire top of the building explodes, with Peter shouting, asking, where's your hostage? Where is May Parker? Electro asks, what are you talking about? But before Peter could answer, Electro begins to laugh. He tells Peter, you must really be an idiot. You do know Kingpin used to be a movie producer, right? Now with Kingpin out of the way, Owl moved in to take over and hired us to try and get himself a decent gang. The truth is, we've never even heard of this woman. Sounds like Owl just played you like a freaking violin. Electro shocks the water, electrocuting Peter. As he tries to recover, he ends up falling off the ledge. He tries to shoot the webbing to catch himself, but he doesn't reach it in time, falling straight into a police car. An ambulance rushes onto the scene to help those that have been hurt, and Peter is one of the ones that is taken away. The doctors lay him on a table, getting ready to operate, when one of the EMTs states that they need to keep the Spider-Man mask on. The doctor, preparing for surgery, asks, what are you, 9? Hand me the scissors before this guy chokes to death because of the mask. The doctor begins to cut open the mask, tossing it into the trash, stating, okay, now we can get to work. As the operation finishes, the media catches wind that there are 17 casualties, one of which is Spider-Man himself. The doctors are working hard to keep everyone alive. Inside of the hospital, the director tells the doctor that they do not remove the masks of super people. Because of this, every half-baked Green Goblin wannabe is going to try to make a name for himself. It's at that moment that someone bursts through the windows in Peter's room and the nurse shouts to just get back. This man doesn't even know where he is. Vulture lands at the foot of Peter's bed asking, "Have you seen the Discovery Channel? This is what vultures do!" Vulture then grabs the woman, snapping her neck, telling Peter, "It's time for us to get down to business. But before we do, I just want to take a peek under all those bandages to see who I've been fighting all these years." Peter reaches out for a pitcher of water, slamming it against the Vulture's head, knocking him back long enough to let security make their way in. Security opens fire, but Vulture quickly grabs Peter to use him as a shield, causing him to get shot twice. He then turns around, lifting Peter up, flying through the window, and he begins to fly up as high as he can into the sky. Vulture starts shouting, "Do you know what I was going to do with that money? I was going to give it to my damn grandson. My grandson has leukemia, and now he won't get the treatment. Now we're going to take off these stupid bandages and see exactly who you are." Vulture begins to pull the last bit of the bandages away, looking at Peter's face, and he tells him he can't believe it. All of his friends were put away. All of them were put away by a nobody. All these years getting beaten by a nobody. He releases Peter to let him fall, but as Peter starts to shoot webbing to catch himself, he realizes his web shooters are gone. That's when Black Cat swings by, grabbing him, throwing him up onto the ledge. Vulture rockets towards them, shouting, "No, no, no!" and he tackles straight into Black Cat. He picks her up, sending her through a building, but before falling, she throws her grappling hook, latching it onto Vulture's leg. She pulls back on the cord, swiping at Vulture's chest, drawing blood. Vulture shouts that she should know that this suit makes him more powerful. And Black Cat tells him, "Oh, she knows. Let's see how good he can fly without a navigation system." She pulls back on the Vulture's wings, guiding him headfirst into a billboard before jumping off at the last second. As the Vulture falls onto the roof, Black Cat lands on him, stating, "If you ever touch my ex again, I will kill you." Later, at the meatpacking district of Manhattan, Owl sips his tea, telling a tied-up Electro that it would be best if he didn't try to move. The doctor here has just injected him with a special kind of drug that neutralizes all those nasty little shocks. In fact, the only thing he's gonna feel is pain. Now admit it. Admit what he did was wrong and accept punishment for it. Electro shouts, "It wasn't him, it was the Vulture. Just let me go and we can both find the crooked old goat." Owl asks, "Like you were gonna find my $20 million? I don't think so. Besides, Black Cat already found the Vulture and dropped him off earlier. She was going to search while in Florida, so it would stand to reason that she's not in the best of moods when she caught up with Vulture here." Electro asks, "What does he mean?" And Owl tells the doctor to remove the blanket. The sheet comes off and the Vulture gasps for air, his face and body covered in deep cuts and bruises. Electro shouts, "Oh God, Vulture! Jesus, God, no!" The doctor then holds up a scalpel to Electro's face, and Owl takes a sip of his tea. "To it too, Mr. Dillon, to it too." Everyone knows the people who wait in the airports, and they hold up signs for the people that they're waiting for. At JFK International, it's no different. Except there's one slight difference, because one man is holding up a sign for Venom. Eddie Brock walks through the crowd asking if it's supposed to be some kind of a joke. "Are you trying to upset him?" The man nervously says, "No, Mr. Brock, it's just that the employer said that your name is still a secret." Eddie sighs, telling him, "Shut up and call whoever's funding this, telling him I need strawberries, champagne, and a sweet sprinkled with rose petals. No sense in making my last days on Earth any more unpleasant than they need to be, right?" Meanwhile, across town at Spider-Man's apartment, Mary Jane returns despite Spider-Man telling her not to come back, only to throw away a stack of final notice bills. As she looks at them, Black Cat shouts in the other room, "Spider-Man just woke up screaming." She rushes over, and as Black Cat looks at the bruised and broken Spider-Man, Peter says, "What are you doing here?" Black Cat tells him that he was fighting with the Vulture and he may have dropped him out of the sky, but she made sure to get everything taken care of. Spider-Man shakes his head asking, "How long have I been out?" And Mary Jane tells him it's been 2.5 days. He then shouts asking, What about Aunt May? Have there been any messages from the kidnapper?" And Aunt May tells him, "No, nothing's happened since you've been unconscious." Black Cat says, "Actually, there's one thing," and hands over the morning's newspaper. Spider-Man reads the headline, "Spider-Man Unmasked." and he sees a photo of him with his mask torn when he was brought to the hospital. Black Cat tells him it's okay. They didn't see his actual face, but J. Jonah Jameson is offering $5 million to anyone able to identify you. Black Cat then gets up stating, I have to run out and meet with someone. He knows everything around this town, so if anything comes up, I'll make sure to let you know, Peter. Mary Jane waves, telling her to be careful, and Black Cat says to make sure that she looks after their friend there. If he gives her any crap about going on patrol, just call. After a bit, Spider-Man gets up to eat when Mary Jane sits with him and asks, when is he gonna start calling it quits? One of the first things he promised is if things got out of control, he would call the police and admit who he is. Going public would make things easier to find Aunt May. Spider-Man says that they can't, not now at least. This is what happens when one psychopath knows who I am. Going public would invite the rest of the lunatics. Mary Jane grabs a folder, stating if that's the case, they need to start looking at someone who knows who he is, starting with Osborn. Spider-Man slips through the papers, telling her no. Norman was my first choice, but he's been in police custody since Aunt May has been taken. Besides, that just wouldn't add up. Norman's known my identity for years, and he's never pulled a stunt like this. This is the work of someone who just found out. Mary Jane asks, what about Venom? He is someone that we should look. And at that moment, the phone rings and Spider-Man answers. The woman on the line says that it's compact card credit, and they're calling to understand why he's been late on his payments. Spider-Man asks, what is she talking about? The bank automatically pulls all their credit card bills. There's plenty of money in the account. And the woman tells him that that's something he would have to talk to the bank about. So he hangs up shouting, believe me, I will. He looks back at Mary Jane and sees her crying, asking what's wrong, and she says, Peter, we have to have a serious talk. The two walk through the park and Mary Jane says that she didn't want to burden him with these things. She's supposed to take care of the little things and now they're in this mess. Spider-Man shrugs, stating he'll just have to sell a few original photos again. No big deal. They've been without money before. Everything's gonna be fine. We've gotten through worse situations. She lays his head on his shoulder, telling him that he's already got so much on his plate, but he tells her, you married a superhero, remember? Things will be fine. Later that night, Spider-Man heads out on patrol even though he's still recovering when his spider sense goes off. He hurries over downtown to find Doc Ock rampaging through the city like an uncontrollable madman. He swings down to pull two people out of the way of a thrown car and then webs up Doc Ock's face. He then punches into Doc Ock, telling himself that this isn't something Otto Octavius would do. Mindless rampage? It doesn't fit. Maybe a drug thing? With one final punch, Spider-Man knocks Doc Ock across the street into a bus, and then he gets ready to snap a few pictures when he notices something. Doc Ock has several tranq darts shot into his back. Before he could even ask what's going on, the New York SWAT team surrounds him, telling him to stand back or they will open fire. All of the officers inch closer, and Spider-Man asks, are you out of your minds? I was the one who took the guy down. What the hell did you do? One of the officers tells him, we shot him full of tranquilizers when he broke loose from the convoy. Would have been fine without you. So Spider-Man asks, what the hell are you even doing taking Doc Ock away from the prison anyway? And the officer tells him, the good doctor had a few tests he had to get to. And that's the least of your issues right now. Once the officers are close enough, Spider-Man's spider sense begins to go off and he says, this is about the reward, isn't it? One officer grabs him, telling him, we're tired of cleaning up your mess. Let's just say there's a little bonus money if we unmask you. Spider-Man pushes the officer off, telling him, don't be stupid. And all of the officers pile on, trying to tear at his mask. Just before the officers can get his mask off, Spider-Man throws the group of officers into the air, and one of the officers shouts, asking, what are we waiting for? Take him down. All of the officers then open fire, with the captain running out screaming, what the hell are you doing? The officer tells him that Spider-Man is resisting arrest. We're gonna need air support or we're gonna lose this punk. The captain tells everyone to stand down. Do you think I don't read the newspapers? Get Dr. Octopus back to the truck and be glad I'm not filing a report on this. Later at the Daily Bugle, security drags a man out of J. Jonah Jameson's office wearing a Spider-Man costume, and the real Spider-Man asks the receptionist, does that happen often? She says, yeah, everyone's coming out of the woodworks claiming to be Spider-Man and cash in on the money. That one looks more like Ant-Man than Spider-Man though. Jonah then shouts, asking Peter, what do you want? Kids at your school take your lunch money again? Peter walks in, telling him, looks like someone finally found that nickel they were looking for. And what's with your crazy Spider-Man stunt? Isn't this the 11th time you pulled the old cash reward for Spider-Man's identity thing? Jonah says, who cares? Some anonymous billionaire donates $5 million to boost our circulation? Who am I to say no? What are you doing here anyway, Parker? Peter tells him, well, I took some photos of Doc Ock escaping and figured you'd want them. Jonah tells him, why would I want that amateur crap? Besides, how long was Doc Ock out for? 5 minutes? He didn't kill anyone. Just then, Jonah's son John walks in asking if he's ready to get some lunch. Hey Peter, how's it going? Peter tells him, not bad. Just trying to squeeze a little cash out of your old man. Jonah grabs his coat, telling him, look, Parker, I know about how you and the wife got a few debt problems. I'll give you $500 for the photos. Peter asks, wait, how did you know about that? And Jonah calls back, ex-supermodel has her Macy's checks bounced by the bank. It's tomorrow's front page, kiddo. But something doesn't sit right with Peter. Some billionaire donates $5 million to give him grief. A short while later, Spider-Man visits Norman with Norman's back turned to him. And Spider-Man tells him, we both know I'm dangling here. Stop trying to annoy me. Norman continues on his puzzle, telling him, annoying you is the only pleasure I get, Parker. What do you want? Spider-Man tells him, see if I can shed a little light on what happened to May. I've gone over everything and come up with nothing. Maybe I'm just too normal to see what this guy is up to. Maybe you could figure out why this guy hasn't gotten in touch in the last few days. Norman slams against the glass, telling Spider-Man, ask again. Ask why I should help after being locked up and endangering my life. Spider-Man stops and says, what do you mean endangering? This is a high security cell. Your skin is practically bulletproof. Norman leans in. You should ask yourself this. What were they doing to Otto? Why are all of my offices being burglarized right now? With no other leave, Spider-Man heads to Xavier's Institute for Mutant Kind to speak with Rachel Summers to try and see if speaking with a telepath might help. The second they sit down, though, Rachel begins to see things. She begins to see the night of the attack, and it was violent. She had just moved into the apartment, and she chained the door, but it didn't matter. The man snapped the chain and pushed his way in, and she passed out. But she knew him. She knew who took her. But he's different now. He's not human anymore, Oh God, Aunt May was so scared. Spider-Man shouts, asking, Who? Who did this? Was it Venom? Was it Eddie Brock? Rachel says that she can't see his face. And Spider-Man stands up yelling, Think harder! She begins to cry, and Spider-Man asks, what is it? And Rachel tells him that she's not sure that he wants to hear this. But she thinks Aunt May is dead. Meanwhile, elsewhere, supervillains from across the city begin to gather up at an unknown location for an auction. A very special auction. Tinkerer welcomes everyone, telling them that they have something that they've never seen before. He's here to offer up a costume like none other. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's auction is for Venom himself. Sandman shouts, that ain't Venom! And Tinkerer says, no, of course not. This gentleman is Eddie Brock, Venom's human host. Unfortunately for Eddie, he has cancer and is on a limited timeline. Eddie has had a crisis of faith and is ready to suffer the consequences for his illness. Mysterio then says, that doesn't sound very holy-like. What is Eddie going to do with the money? Donate it to charity? And Eddie tells him, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. That piece of trash would only find a new host anyway. Might as well put some dirty money to good use. Venom then projects himself over Eddie, and Tinkerer tells everyone, it seems that we are ready. Let's start the bidding at $10 million. For 2 weeks, the city has now been silent. Spider-Man goes out on patrol and calls Black Cat asking if she's found anything. And Black Cat says that she did find out something interesting. The lead that she was tracking a few weeks ago turned out to be an auction. Don Fortunato won said auction and paid quite a bit for it. Spider-Man asks what was the merchandise, and Black Cat tells him, oh, you're not gonna believe this, but it was for Venom. Apparently Brock's gone all religious and Fortunato broke the bank, stating that he just wanted to make something of his little nebbish son Angelo, who's always followed him around. Spider-Man says, it's just one psycho becoming another psycho, it's all the same these days. Any word on Aunt May? Is she linked to any of this? Black Cat tells him that she's sorry, but it doesn't look like Venom had anything to do with the kidnapping. So Spider-Man sighs as he hangs up, swinging down to the local diner to use the men's room. When he finishes washing his hands, the waitress behind the counter shouts at him and points to the sign. Restrooms are for paying customers only. Can't you read? He asks if she's serious, and the waitress says, do I look like I've got a good sense of humor? Tonight's special is key lime pie and coffee for $2.99. Spider-Man looks at the woman's name tag and says, no thanks, Ramona, just coffee's fine. So Spider-Man drinks his coffee and he asks, didn't this place used to be a lot busier? There's no one here. Ramona sighs, stating, yeah, but I can't move into day shifts because I have a special needs child, and it looks like we may be closing this shift altogether. I really can't pay for daycare. I'll just have to find some way to manage. So Spider-Man tells her, yeah, I'm a bit strapped for cash myself, and Ramona tells him not to worry about it. But the two of them have a mutual friend. Remember Adrian Toombs? Spider-Man asks, are you talking about the Vulture? And Ramona tells him, yeah. She knows the two of them aren't exactly drinking buddies, but it would seem like a coincidence worth mentioning. She dated his son a few years back. Adrian's the grandfather to her little boy that she was talking about, and that's when it hits him. Her son is the child Vulture was talking about, the one who had leukemia that he was trying to get money for. He said that he would pay for the $500,000 operation with some nest egg he put away. But he hasn't been around for the past few weeks. No matter what, though, we know he isn't gonna let us down. Spider-Man starts to feel bad. He's ended all of that. He put Vulture away. The sirens go off in the distance, and he says that it sounds like that's his cue. How much do I owe? Ramona tells him to forget about it. Did he really think that she was gonna charge a superhero for a cup of coffee? Go out there and fight the good fight, Spider-Man. So he heads out, and over at the Our Lady of Saints Church, Eddie meets with Don Fortunato and his son to hand over the symbiote. Don says that he's sorry it took so long to get the money together, and Eddie tells him, no, it's fine. It's not like I could really go anywhere myself with it. The money's going to a good cause. Don tells him, yeah, though he's glad to be able to use Venom's muscle for the family business and to this little runt his wife brought into the world. Eddie pulls Angelo aside and asks, are you sure about this? This is a pretty nasty beast to be carrying around. Angelo tells him, I'm 5'9" and 110 pounds. The only girls that talk to me are the ones that my dad rents every birthday and Christmas. What am I throwing away here? Besides, Venom...
Alright, I'm gonna take a little break and I will be back in a minute. Alright, we're back. I've relieved myself, got a big ass can of Red Bull. I'm just ready. Ready for side questing. Trying to knock out all these Moogle delivery quests. Hoping I get like some sort of achievement out of it, but we'll see. I'm prepared to be disappointed. I could look it up, but I think it's more fun to discover these things for yourself.
Venom puts me up there with the likes of Magneto and Dr. Doom. Eddie takes off his jacket, telling him, "All right, just wanted to make sure." And Don asks, "Is it true that Venom knows Spider-Man's secret identity?" Eddie looks up at the cross, telling him, "Yeah, and if you ask nicely, Venom might just tell you." Back on the other side of town, Spider-Man decides to have a night to himself when Mary Jane says that their high school reunion is the same night. He walks through the halls, seeing his old friends, and just before he takes a group photo, his spider sense goes off. He pushes everyone away, and that's the moment that Venom bursts through the wall, tackling Spider-Man. As Spider-Man is thrown, he catches himself yelling, "Eddie needs to stop or he's gonna hurt innocent people." And Angelo tells him, "Eddie doesn't live here anymore. You're talking to Angelo Fortunato, and I'm here to make a name for myself." One survivor of the break-in gets up asking Peter Parker, "Are you Spider-Man?" But before anyone can answer anything, Angelo grabs that man's head, crushing it. And Venom shouts asking, "Where were we?" Spider-Man jumps off the wall, knocking Angelo through the wall while quickly putting on his costume, asking, "You want to do this? Let's do this." Venom leaps back, pulling Spider-Man through a wall, and as everyone sees, Mary Jane rushes over to tell everyone that they need to evacuate the building. Spider-Man attempts to web up Angelo, but Angelo catches it mid-air, telling him, "It's like sitting in a slow motion." He flings the web, flinging Spider-Man out of the building, following up by almost stomping on his head. Spider-Man fights back, telling him, "You must be a real disappointment. $100 million and you're still a freaking loser. Your dad must be real proud." As the two fight, they end up in the middle of the road, right in the way of a speeding fuel truck. Spider-Man quickly grabs the dog that ran towards them and then lets the truck crash into Venom. But as he watches, Angelo starts to pick up another passing truck, and he throws it at him. Spider-Man jumps off the building through the windshield, grabbing the man and flying out the back before hitting the wall. Venom leaps up into the air to escape, but Spider-Man chases him, shouting, "Just give it up! I can smell a geek from a mile away! And Venom is not you!" Spider-Man jumps after him, and just before grabbing him, Angelo uses Venom's cloaking ability and vanishes. Spider-Man lands on a building, yelling, "The man you killed is never coming back. Do you really want to be remembered for killing a bystander?" Venom reappears behind him, telling him, "No, I want to be known as the man who killed Spider-Man." Angelo pulls his arm back, punching Spider-Man into his back so hard that he punches through his spine and ribs.
Jesus.
He then takes his arm back out, holding Spider-Man's heart, shouting, "I did it! I did what Green Goblin, Dr. Doom, Dr. Octopus can never do! I killed Spider-Man!" But in the shadows, a man with a camera quietly says, "This wasn't supposed to happen. He promised this wouldn't happen." Angelo looks over, asking, "And who the hell are you?" Spider-Man reappears, punching Angelo into a wall and then into a water container. Angelo tries to get back up, but Spider-Man punches him again and again until Angelo finally shouts, "I give up!" Spider-Man webs up a pile of bricks, swinging them around, knocking Angelo through the air. Venom himself then speaks up, "Angelo's weak. You're a disappointment. The problem with you is you don't have enough venom in you." Venom jumps off the ledge of the building with Angelo, separating himself, leaving Angelo to fall to the street. Spider-Man yells for him to relax his body, but Angelo doesn't hear him, and he lands face first into the pavement. But this isn't the only death tonight. Elsewhere, Eddie was found with his wrists opened up. He tried to be good. He tried to make up for all those horrible things he did, but now he might not make it through the night. This is why the hunt for Spider-Man must end. There's only one way to do it. The next morning, Peter heads to the Daily Bugle and tells Jonah that he has it. He has Spider-Man's identity. If he could, he'd like to tell him alone. Jonah asks, "What is this about? Why wouldn't you want to put that menace's face out for the public?" Peter hands over photos of Spider-Man, but it isn't Peter Parker. It's John Jameson, Jonah's son. Jonah sits down. "No, of course not. My own son. What about the prize money?" Peter tells him, "Oh no, I don't want any." But Jonah hands him a briefcase with $500,000, telling him, "This is all you get. The rest sits in a private offshore account. But before you ask for the full amount, the answer is no. Now just go. This is a lot I have to think about." Peter leaves with the money, but he knows he doesn't deserve it. Or maybe he does. Maybe he deserves a little good luck for once. But the money doesn't belong to him, and if he gives it back, Jonah will definitely know that something's up. So what is a superhero supposed to do with $500,000? Donate it to someone who could actually use the money. Someone like Ramona. A few days after the attack at the school reunion, Spider-Man and Mary Jane visit the police station to give their statements about what happened. And just as the detective begins his questioning, Spider-Man's phone rings. The man on the phone says that was an interesting way to spend the money that he gave Jonah. But what about Eddie? It's a shame to lose a colleague like that, but he just didn't fit into the plans that they have for the new and improved Rogues Gallery. Spider-Man quietly tells the man that he's going to kill him for this. He's gonna hunt him down for murdering his aunt. And the man laughs. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. There's a lot of people involved here. To tell you the truth, this is just the tip of the iceberg. What were the cops doing to Otto Octavius? Why is Osborn in such terrible danger? And why has dear old Aunt May been integral to all of these plans? We'll meet for lunch tomorrow, and the whole story will be laid out. Ciao for now, Peter. As the sidewalks of New York fill with busy lunchgoers, Spider-Man pushes his way through the crowds when he notices a man seemingly out of place hiding his face. He stops and the man asks if he's surprised to see him. Spider-Man asks, "What?" The man goes on stating that it must be a shock to see him as the kidnapper, right? Truth be told, he was scared the voices give him away on the phone. Spider-Man stares at him for a moment and asks, "Do we know each other?" The man then asks, "Are you joking? Am I some second stinger now? I have to tell you? You should know who I am! Scorpion! Mac Gargan!" Without even saying a word, Spider-Man lunges forward, slamming Scorpion into the window, stating, "I am this close to breaking your neck!" Scorpion stops him, telling him, "Now those are some fancy moves. Why don't you just go on and show everyone who you are? But if you want to keep the old hag alive, you better get control of that little temper of yours." Spider-Man shouts, "Prove she's alive!" So Scorpion asks, "Are you really in any place to make demands? Now put me down before I get ticked off and walk away." Spider-Man loosens his grip, setting Scorpion down, and Scorpion tells him, "Good boy. Now let's get some lunch and discuss what you're going to do for me." As the two sit for lunch, Spider-Man asks, "How long have you known?" And Scorpion asks, "Your secret identity? Coming up in a year this Christmas." Spider-Man then asks, "If you've known for that long, why did you keep it secret? And why give the Daily Bugle $5 million? Scorpion laughs. "You really don't have a clue, huh? Who do you think hired me? This is all Norman's masterpiece, kid. The Green Goblin's revenge." You see, Norman had everything set up that if he was ever arrested or publicly exposed, this little game of yours would be cranked up to a notch or two. Spider-Man tells him, "That doesn't make any sense. If Norman was behind this, why was he so scared back at Rikers?" Scorpion tells him, "Because your aunt is just the tip of the iceberg. You ever wonder why you've always been fighting the same guys over and over again? May Parker is just an insurance policy. The real meat and potatoes of this is what's been going on in the background all of these years. Imagine it's 1945. You're one of the richest men on the planet. Girls, money, power, the American dream. And then these guys in masks show up, righting wrongs and throwing their superpowers around. After a while, they'll begin to snoop, and when they do, suddenly that American dream crumbles and they see what you're up to. So what do the people in the background do when they're faced with the people that can just walk through bullets? Easy. They create the super bad guy. Now, most of the villains back in the day were just ex-GIs on salaries. And these people, they were assigned to the heroes. It was in their contracts. There was only one or two organizations for each hero, and that's all you really need. Once you get the ball rolling, you just sit back and enjoy the fun. Take last month's auction. People were bleeding themselves dry to become an A-list villain. Spider-Man throws his hands up. This is garbage. There's no way the government would create their own supervillains. Scorpion tells him, "That's where you're wrong. It isn't the government, it's the companies who put the governments in office, and neutralizing the capes was a genuine business concern." Spider-Man asks, "What does any of this have to do with Norman?" Scorpion tells him, "Really? He's a billionaire, a biochemist, all of those big military contracts. Norman Osborn was their favorite supervillain contractor until he went a little nuts with the Green Goblin thing. Bush and Clinton found out about this, and they closed down any supervillain programs that they heard of. But there were some very famous names in the original cabal. That's why they want to kill Norman. He knows where all the bodies are buried. And Norman locked up in jail is the very definition of a loose cannon. As long as he's in his cell, He's a sit-in duck for any would-be assassin. Spider-Man then says, if I was going to believe that any of this was true, why has Norman been locked up for over 3 months and no attempts at his life been made? Scorpion tells him, it's because Norman has plans on top of plans. Anything happens to him, emails and parcels will start reaching out to media outlets. Why do you think Oscorp has had so many break-ins lately? These guys can't pull the trigger until they cover their bases. Hell, ever wonder what happened to Doc Ock? He's been brainwashed to kill Norman. His next scheduled attempt is this weekend. That's why we need your help. Norman Osborn wants Spider-Man to break him out of prison tomorrow at midnight. Spider-Man tells him, no way, forget it. And Scorpion tells him, oh, so Aunt May's gonna die then, simple as that. Sure, you're breaking the Green Goblin out, and there's always a possibility that he's going to kill someone, but refuse and there's a guarantee that May Parker's going to die. Spider-Man slams his hand on the table asking, why are you doing this? Why go to all this trouble? It's because you raised the ante by putting Norman behind bars. You only got yourself to blame for this, kid. Now, if you excuse me, there's a new Scorpion suit waiting to be picked up that Norman arranged for me. Spider-Man tells him, I don't care about any of that stuff. I'm not going to break Norman out of prison. Scorpion walks off. Sure you are, because you've already buried enough friends over the years, right? Later that night, Scorpion heads back to his apartment to try on his new suit, but just before he does, a voice tells him that that new suit is to die for. Scorpion asks who there, and the voice tells him, your new best friend. We're your ticket out of the gutter. Scorpion tells him, yeah, not interested, already have enough friends. Venom looms out of the shadows telling him, sure, but you've never had a friend like me. Meanwhile, over at Spider-Man's apartment, Mary Jane throws up in the sink, shouting that he can't be serious. He's gonna break somebody like that out of prison, and that somebody is Green Goblin? Spider-Man tells him, that's what Scorpion said. There's always a risk of Norman hurting someone, but if I do nothing, Aunt May will die. Mary Jane begins to cry, stating, Norman is using you. He's pulling strings and making you dance like an idiot. Don't do this. Pete, Norman's too smart. Spider-Man hugs her, telling her, things are different now. Dr. Octopus is brainwashed to kill him, and he's vulnerable for the first time in his life. Norman promised that he'd behave. I have reason to believe that Norman is too scared to be lying this time. Besides, there's no other way to save Aunt May. As Spider-Man and Black Cat leave, Mary Jane watches in the windows and reaches into her robe, pulling out a gun. She sits down. Please, God, let me be wrong about all of this. Later at Rikers Island, Black Cat and Spider-Man sneak in with Spider-Man asking, how's it going over there? Black Cat holds up a flashlight in her mouth, stating that they're all set. Security cameras are paused across the route that Scorpion laid out for them. They got roughly 20 minutes. As Spider-Man gets to Norman's cell, he asks Black Cat if she can get a little light in there. A second later, Norman's cell lights up with him standing there, stating that he's 90 seconds behind the schedule. Spider-Man deactivates the lock, telling him to just shut up before I change my mind about this. A short while later, in the tunnels of the prison, a worker notices 3 people coming towards him, and he asks who the heck are they. The worker calls out that they have a breakout in Delta Tunnel. Tell the COs that. Before the man could finish, Norman tackles him and starts running. Spider-Man and Black Cat go after him, but just as Spider-Man reaches to help the man up that Norman knocked over, officers run over shouting, freeze. Spider-Man tries to tell them it's okay, but the officers open fire, forcing Spider-Man to dive underwater. He begins to swim back to the mainland, but that's when he notices a jet stream swirling around him, and that jet stream crashes into him, shooting him out of the water, slamming him into the ground. Hydra Man starts to form up, asking, what's the matter? Swallow a little water? And Spider-Man shouts, you idiot! What are you doing here? Hydra Man tells him, I'm making 50 grand an hour, just like Sandman's trying to capture Black Cat over there. Black Cat says that she's sorry. One of them she can handle, but Norman is now in his Green Goblin costume, flying by on his glider, stating, please, spare him. And Spider-Man shouts, asking, what is this? Norman tells him, you know exactly what this is. Did you think that this wasn't going to be a double cross? Spider-Man yells, please! Hey, I got my end of the bargain! Just tell me where Aunt May is! Norman says, I appreciate it, kid. I really do, but I got a super criminal reputation to think of. So what are you boys waiting for? Take care of Spider-Man while I dance off with his wife. Electro steps out telling Norman, you should call us what you were talking about earlier. And Norman tells him, the Sinister 12 did have a curious appeal about it. Just a shame Scorpion never appeared. While the villains start to surround Spider-Man, Scorpion then does appear, wearing the Venom suit, stating, this was supposed to be Spider-Man's last stand! I wouldn't miss it for the world! Norman flies over asking, what is this? It wasn't part of the plan. These plots are planned in phenomenal detail. You becoming Venom had nothing to do with it, Scorpion. The Scorpion asks, really? You're completely overreacting here. All I've done is made myself more powerful. This could only be good for the plan. While Norman bickers about his plan, Spider-Man kicks Sandman back, telling Black Cat, hit him while Norman's distracted. As Spider-Man jumps from person to person, Chameleon shouts, asking, can anyone hit this clown? Scorpion jumps off the building into Spider-Man, stating, relax, I'm on it. Black Cat turns to help, but Electro shocks her, telling her, don't even think about it. And Vulture yells, hey, I was supposed to get first crack at Black Cat for what she did to my face. Shocker tells him, why not just take it out on Spider-Man? He's the one who lost your grandson's money. Other villains start shouting which one should have their turn first, and that's when Scorpion grabs Spider-Man, asking, yeah, hear that? Everyone wants a piece of you, and you know what? They're going to get it. We're going to carve our names into your corpse and hang it up on a flagpole. When we're finished with you, you're going to die here tonight. Norman's orders right here, right now, and you know what else? That pretty little redhead at home's gonna die too. Spider-Man screams, knocking Scorpion away, and the second he gets up, Hydra Man blasts him into the back, knocking him back down. The villains all take their turns getting in their shots, and while this is happening, a shadowy figure tells his team, get ready. Captain America jumps into the light, shouting, all right, take them down. But back at the apartment, Mary Jane sighs, stating that she's sorry she had to make that call. Norman is going to screw him over. He is going to betray Pete. And from the darkness, Norman appears, telling her, oh, you're a clever girl. Now it's time for you to go to sleep. Back on the coastline, though, Spider-Man yells, I have to get out of here. My wife is... But Cap stops him. Just go. We have these creeps under control. Spider-Man webs up, flinging himself into the air, but before he can get far, Scorpion tackles him mid-swing, sending the two of them into a nearby building. Spider-Man begins fighting back, listening to Scorpion taunt him, but Spider-Man just focuses on his punches, and that's when he notices Scorpion firing out the suit in 100 different directions. As the web is cast, Scorpion tells him, I'm not here to kill you, just keep you busy while Norman kills Mary Jane. Spider-Man thinks to himself that Scorpion wouldn't do this, he couldn't do this. And as Scorpion pulls back on the strands, he rips apart all of the buildings that he's connected to, bringing them all down onto the street. Spider-Man's hands move faster than they ever have before, firing off his web, and right when he's done, a giant spider web covers the entire street, holding back the debris. Everyone on the street shouts to Spider-Man to kick that guy's butt for them. So Spider-Man says, that sounds like a plan. He begins punching Scorpion over and over, and he fires more webs, with Scorpion laughing. You missed! As Scorpion looks back, he sees Spider-Man has webbed up an old abandoned building, and he begins to pull down on it. The entire building comes crashing down on Scorpion, and Spider-Man quickly turns back, asking everyone, are you guys okay? The crowd cheers, yelling, hell yeah, we're okay. We were just saved by Spider-Man. So he rushes off without saying another word, and as he swings by the bridge, he sees something. He calls out, asking if that's Mary Jane, and he sees Norman Osborn holding her body over the ledge, asking, hey, this look familiar, kid? Spider-Man shouts, you've already killed Aunt May! Isn't that enough? And Norman laughs, you have so little faith. Aunt May's just been placed under a deep, deep sleep for the last few months. In about 45 minutes, she's gonna run out of air and
see if I can't get this to work. Curious. Give this a go. Okay, so guitar doesn't lend itself too well to that. It does say harp, to be fair, though. Oh, it's not too good, is it? Alright, yeah. What else do we have on here? Give that one a shot. What else do we got? Violin. Oh, it's still playing the old one, that's why. It takes a minute for it to get started, but that's not bad. Kind of just repeats itself, doesn't it? See. Too fast now. big it's saying. Christ. Is this so difficult? Alright, let's try the Mandalorian now. I'll try the guitar in that one. Try Overdriven. With that either. Maybe the Doom one. Maybe that's what I need in my life. Yeah. That's funny. A little more. What can I say? I like my Sonic stuff. Start with this one. No. Got the wrong guitar. Maybe I need to do this one. Oh, we'll try this one actually. Oops. It's terrible. It's terrible. These are all terrible. Not that I could do better, but terrible. Ooh, that would be a cool one if it worked. cello. Let's see if cello works better. Ain't no cello I ever seen, though. These are all just not good. I mean, maybe this is just the consequence of MIDI, but oof. Oh. Just not good. Yeah, let's look up some Zelda ones. Cool. Flute. Nothing? It's supposed to be part of a... So... like it's missing stuff. Let's see what happens if I just let it go by itself. Yeah, no, that seems not right. It's gotta be one of these fucking things have to work correctly. Try the harp like it wants. Are you? Okay. It's like it's missing stuff. That's better. Oh, okay. Try to get this a little more organized here. Shelf suite.